because I liked it. It seems fun. Now next year we are having the IFRS standards coming into that. There's a linkage between your financial statements and sustainability statements from next year. So first of all, it is immense pressure on me to kind of make myself very interesting, because that time this thing was internet banking, mobile banking was new. So I was in that areas, about what is your sustainability record. So exactly the way you're putting out, make it real. भाई करना क्या है basically? कुछ तो करना है. Everybody knows कि भाई कुछ तो करना है.
Hello and welcome to another episode of IIM Ke Baad. We've got a very special guest with us. Ashish Gokhale was one of the first few people I met at IIM on the first day that we landed up there, partly because he was my next door neighbor. We have a lot of secrets. He knows many of mine. I know many of his. We'll try to avoid, we'll navigate some of them. But yeah, we'll remain within the bounds because, yeah, it's a quid pro quo of retaining secrets, as I'm sure Vix and Chow also know him. But how about Ashish? How about you give a bit of a background? Why did you decide to come to Bangalore? Firstly, into an IIM and why IIM Bangalore? How you managed the Mumbai to Bangalore journey? How your 2 years of IIM Bangalore were? And thirdly, and this is the purpose of the channel, what is your last 25 years of journey from Bangalore to Dubai? Where do you want to start? I'll leave the canvas open to you within these three.
That's in fact a kind of a threatening start, if I may say. Quid pro quo, where you have laid down the conditions. So that that gives a lot of boundaries in my mind, because I was waiting to let go of everything, but now you have kind of
No, you
created a
can.
framework. No, it's okay. Let's start in a very civil way,
You can
and
let go.
maybe
I
let's
mean,
see
the
how it
reason
goes.
I thought I will mention it partly to remind myself कि ज़्यादा मत बोल देना क्योंकि तुम्हारा भी कोई और बोलेगा. वो भी बताना होता है, और दूसरा मे बी टू हिंट विंक विंक कि तुम भी ज़्यादा मत बोल देना.
No, so I got, that is why I said, so I have to immediately recalibrate the thoughts in my mind. So okay, so first of all, it is immense pressure on me to kind of make myself very interesting, because first thing when actually Migs asked me that, oh Ashish, why don't you be on the podcast? I said, who wants to listen to 2 hours of my life and my thoughts? What is so interesting in me? So that itself was like, I have been thinking last one day, what do I talk about myself? Because in a way that's been the motto of my life. My motto of my life is under promise and over deliver. So I maybe that's what everybody around me says, that I am very humble. People think it as a positive. I think it's honestly lack of confidence. Once you say now that you're ordinary, you are nothing, then you feel that like the whole pressure is kind of off your back. I'm from the suburbs of Mumbai, so if anybody knows Thane, around that area. Yeah, pretty normal middle class life. I always look at myself. In fact, I was telling my kids that day, I was a classical middle bencher. Sometimes in school the top benchers are always they're the ones who are clever and everything. The back benchers are the ones who are notorious. So you always have the limelight on these two people. I was actually neither. I was the middle bencher, so someone who's silent and I mean, it's not very poor at studies, but neither very exceedingly great at studies. Someone who went through the motion.
I mean, मिडिल बेंचर वो तो नहीं होते कि मतलब कि ना तो वो स्कूल में स्टड होते हैं ना पढ़ाई में भी टॉप नहीं करते.
Exactly. So, I mean, either ways, you are neither notorious nor famous. So, you are neither. So, there's glamour in being backbenchers also. You hear a lot of people saying, अरे मैं तो पढ़ाई में बिल्कुल बेकार था, उसके बाद मेरी लाइफ टर्न अराउंड हो गई. तो ऐसे भी कुछ नहीं था मेरे को. आई मीन, यू हियर लॉट ऑफ दिस टेडेक्स टॉक्स की. मुझे लगता है कि एवरीबडी सीम्स टू हैव अ स्ट्रगल इन देयर लाइफ, कि मैं चल के जाता था, मैं 20-10 ऐसा कुछ. मुझे मेरी लाइफ में स्ट्रगल भी नहीं था, नॉर, आई मीन, ऑब्वियसली यू आर इन अ डिफरेंट एरा, ऑल ऑफ अस हैव बीन इन अ डिफरेंट एरा, सो थिंग्स आर नॉट सो इजी as they are right now, but that is more a effect of that era, so it's not to do with the life struggle or anything. So in fact, a lot of times, I hear my friends telling their kids, यार हमारे टाइम में तो ऐसा होता था, ये नहीं था, वो नहीं था. बट दैट वाज योर टाइम यार, अभी तभी मोबाइल नहीं था और अभी मोबाइल है, सो इट डजंट मीन कि तुम्हारी जिंदगी बहुत कुछ अलग थी. दिस इज द न्यू नॉर्मल. सो
I know, and see, we have these discussion. I'm sure you do. Sometimes I also fall in that trap. is कि यार हम ऐसे करते थे, हमारे बच्चे ये क्यों कर रहे हैं? But then when you reflect कि यार मेरे टाइम पर आई एम श्योर मेरे डैड यही सोचते होंगे कि यार ये क्या कर रहा है, ये थोड़ी ना ऐसे करना होता है. चाहे वो मोबाइल नहीं था उस टाइम पे टीवी था. एंड आई नो वी ग्रू अप इन एन एरा वेयर टीवी actually graduated from being only a few hours in the evening, then having a second channel. I remember Delhi Metro करके एक चैनल शुरू हुआ था. That was the first time we say अरे दो चैनल, और वो भी उनमें से एक 6 घंटे आएगा. Very good. फिर then we moved to the next generation in the early 90s when ZTV came. कि यार एक और चैनल जो 24 hours का एक चैनल, it was something completely different, which is आई एम श्योर हमारे पेरेंट्स सोचते हैं कि क्या बच्चे टीवी 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 करते रहते हैं. इट्स द सेम थिंग वी थिंक कि हमारे बच्चे टैबलेट फोन करते रहते हैं एंड सो
yeah,
ऑन.
so again, now there are multiple threads which kind of you touched on. So just maybe before, without digressing too much into that rabbit hole, one thing which definitely is there is I think I don't know. I mean, मुझे याद है. I don't know if you guys remember. I had a lot of empty time in my life. When you're growing up, कि कुछ करने को नहीं है. तो I mean somebody asked me in fact that day, what did you read? So मैं बोला यार जो घर पे पढ़ा होता था. I have read everything from Stardust to Sarita. I don't know if you know, there used to be a
Yes.
Hindi magazine called Sarita.
Yes.
आई नो
So
सरिता.
I have read everything. उसमें there used to be columns around. When I was in school, I used to read columns. They used to have like those columns where they counsel, on adult issues, etc. So I used to be curious. Used to read those in Hindi.
So just the columns, not those other books. You've not read
That
those?
we have decided we will keep out, right? Which is you have to read between the
Okay.
hidden lines, correct? So and so I mean whatever was available you end up reading. So whereas today आजकल क्या है कि you have so much available that sometimes that whole emptiness in the life to be bored and to just get make do with what you have, वो तो definitely I think. And in fact why I even blame the kids, even in my life at least I can figure out वो चला गया है. Even today when what I get Netflixed so much, when you know the phenomenon of Netflixization where you have so much choice कि मैं देखता हूँ कि ये देखना है, वो देखना है, वो देखना है, देखना कुछ एंड में कुछ भी नहीं देखा चाहता.
मेरे
बड़ा
साथ
ये
बहुत
सीरीज है, ये वो
रेगुलरली
आया है, ये आया है.
बहुत रेगुलरली होता है प्राइम या नेटफ्लिक्स पे.
First
आधा
choice
घंटा लगा के
problem
कि ये
है.
करना है, फिर मूड ही खत्म हो जाता है.
Ashish, you didn't have any siblings growing up? Because usually,
Yeah, so I was single. I was a
okay.
single child. Yeah, I am a single child. In fact, my wife is also a single child. So we both are single children. So it was a conscious choice that we will not have a single child. We will have. So we had two. So yeah. So
How,
I
how
was
far
single.
apart are your kids, Ashish?
My kids are 16 and
16 and
12. Both girls. So by the way, guys, cheers. So I
Cheers.
hope I had promised.
Cheers.
So
Cheers. I'm doing coffee. It's in the afternoon, but if we go long enough, by the end of this, I will get a beer.
golden question, what I wanted to do in life. I honestly, I had no clue.
अभी पता
I
है?
mean,
अभी पता है?
I had no clue. एग्जैक्टली मैं यही कहने वाला था. इनफैक्ट परसों आई मीन आई एम अ पार्ट ऑफ अ रनिंग ग्रुप. तो उसमें मैं आई वाज रनिंग विद समवन हु जस्ट गर्ल हु वाज गेटिंग इनटू कॉलेज. तो आई वाज जस्ट आस्किंग व्हाट यू वांट टू डू. तो शी काइंड ऑफ नॉनचैलेंटली जस्ट लुक्ड एट मी एंड सेइंग, या आई मीन नो ऑफेंस अंकल, डू यू नो व्हाट यू वांट टू डू इन द नेक्स्ट 5 years? I said yeah. She was just on my face. So that really stumped me. Yeah, I mean, how do you expect a 18-year or 17-year-old girl to know what she wants to do in next 5 years, what course or what? So same thing. So I had no idea what I wanted to do in life, and so I was someone who kind of went into the flow. So like every decent, I mean, I was not extraordinary. Every decently studious guy wants to become an engineer or a doctor. So I hated bio, so I ended up becoming an engineer. So in fact I remember first year I had got admission into electrical engineering, and when I went into electrical engineering first year, I hated it so much that I was so desperate. I literally cried that I wanted to get into mechanical engineering. And I mean, my parents still remind me that I slogged so much in the first year. I did very well and I got a change into mechanical engineering. So maybe it's something which negative emotion drives me more. That not wanting something really, rather than wanting something, just want to get rid of something. The first time in my life, actually, I think I remember where I really excelled beyond my own imagination. That was first year in engineering. So in fact, I changed to mechanical engineering, and again as in the flow, so a lot of my classmates wanted to go to the US. I honestly didn't go to the US because I was very lazy. I mean, I'm very honest to say, was very lazy to fill up those statement of purpose, those application forms. People who, in those days internet was not there, you had to have couriers, you had to do all this stuff. And plus I was very scared because I said, which professor is going to give a recommendation for Ashish Gokhale? Which professor even doesn't knows Ashish Gokhale? I was scared कि मैं recommendation किससे पूछूंगा? 3 साल तो मैं कभी कॉलेज गया नहीं, कभी लेक्चर मैंने भूल भाल के कोई अटेंड किया होगा. So I mean, since you're mentioning about the choices, what choices I ended up making. I ended up making choices more out of exclusion, to be honest, कि यार अभी यूएस तो जाने की, यानी टू लेजी टू गो इनटू यूएस, ये सब कौन करेगा. तो ढूंढ लो अभी एक जॉब ढूंढ लो, तो प्लेसमेंट. सो इट्स, यू डोंट हैव टू डू एनीथिंग इन इंजीनियरिंग. इफ यू आर इन अ डिसेंट कॉलेज, कंपनीज कम टू योर कैंपस.
Which
So
college
in
were
fact
you
I
at,
got
Ashish, for
placed.
your engineering?
I was in Sardar Patel College of Engineering, which is like a government college in Mumbai. Okay, so it's a decent college. I mean, it's not the top like IIT
Mm,
and VJT are top. It's
mm.
after that. So you had decent companies coming for placements. In fact, I very well remember a story. I mean, just because at that time there was this wave of IT. You name any engineer, they were going
Yeah.
into IT.
Yes.
So maybe Mancha, I think, is an engineer, he would know in that time. So everybody, mechanical ho,
Mm.
civil ho, these companies used to come in hordes and just pick up engineers. So I had something कि नहीं नहीं यार अभी इतना I mean, since I gave you a background, मैंने fight मार के I changed from electrical to mechanical. यार अभी इतना किया है, I should do something. But then there's this company came, Citil. That was iFlex का पुराना अवतार. Now there is iFlex Solutions, Citil, City Corp. They were offering very good salaries. So I just like out of nothing, I went to their exam. I cleared the exam. It was an aptitude exam. I went for the interview. And the interview, the guy asked me the first question, "Are you approp?" Because I was wearing jeans and a shirt. I had no idea, in final year, kya the formal dressing, whatever. I was wearing a jeans and a shirt. So the first thing that guy asked me is, "Are you appropriately dressed for the interview?" I said, "I have no idea." So I mean, that first question itself, you stump it, right? And so obviously, I was not selected for that company. So that is where actually then these things started, triggering in the mind. Appearance, presentation, these things maybe are more important than what maybe I'm sure maybe I have done well in the test because they selected a few people, but and ironically they shortlisted four, only I was not taken, the other three guys were taken. So that was like a big lesson for me, that packaging is more important than the product sometimes. So these things do matter a lot. Yeah, so I got into this company called L&T. I mean, as I said, I was average but consistent. So I had got first class in every semester because there are a lot of other guys who, so like 60% was considered first class. So I was always 62, 63 in every semester. L&T used to be a company who used to have this condition that they wanted first class in every semester. So I got on account of that. My father asked me, "What are you going to do with your first salary?" I told him, "I'm going to eat a masala dosa and a thumbs up in my favorite hotel." That was my dream, you know, because now I had that time, I think I had a salary of 8,000 rupees, which was not bad in 1997. L&T, in fact, they used to joke calling it as lunch and transport because food was amazing in the factory. There was bus which used to come from company to the, go to the factory. Like it was more like in the first year, they have this graduate trainee program. So it was more extension of college. Yeah, all these GETs from all over India coming and, so getting together. They used to take us to field trips outside, which was more like a picnic. So it was like a fun. So never thought I was enjoying life. I never thought कि क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है. So this is where I met this chap called Rajesh Subramaniam. So again,
Acha.
naming, I mean, I'm sure you know who Rajesh Subramaniam is.
Of course, in the 90s, early 90s, if you're getting decent grades, then या तो मेडिकल या इंजीनियरिंग. मेडिकल नहीं करनी थी, मेडिकल एलिमिनेट, सो इंजीनियरिंग कर ली. इंजीनियरिंग में इलेक्ट्रिकल या मैकेनिकल, इलेक्ट्रिकल में मजा नहीं आया तो मैकेनिकल कर लिया, एलिमिनेशन, राइट. एंड फिर या तो यूएस जा लो या इंडिया में जॉब कर लो. यूएस नहीं करना था तो चलो इंडिया में जॉब कर ले. एंड नाउ आई थिंक इट्स गेटिंग इंटरेस्टिंग. सो are you about to tell us that कि you met someone who was preparing for CAT and तुम्हें लगा कि चल यार मैं भी इसके साथ कर लूं CAT?
No, exactly, spot on. No, you're spot
Hmm.
on. So this was this guy Rajesh Subramaniam I met for the. I heard Rajesh Subramaniam's name because we used to go to the same classes. There is this classes in Mumbai called Agarwal classes, which is like a very big class, you know. So,
अच्छा.
so they used to always
Was
have
that for
these
the engineering?
exams. No, that was for the 12th, so before engineering. And
Okay.
Rajesh Subramaniam used to be this guy who used to always top all exams, you know. So I remember that
अच्छा.
name very well. So I
And
remember
then you
that name very
actually
well.
met your idol, जो तुमने जिसके नाम सुने हुए थे हर जगह पे, और फिर LNT में तुम्हें लगा अरे ये तो साक्षात वो टॉपर आ गया है.
Exactly. So मैंने देखा राजेश सुब्रमण्यम अरे ये topper because I think he was also because he was not in my college, he was in VJTI, which is like the other college, which is
Okay.
slightly higher, and he was also I think the topper there if I remember. So there was always this aura Rajesh Subramaniam. So you know he was with me in LNT. So we used to come in the same bus, and there was this guy who was in bus like pouring over these notes. I just एक दिन पूछा क्या है ये तो he said अरे this is IMS notes, this is I mean I knew CAT obviously because a lot of people in engineering also give CAT. I had not given CAT in my final year engineering at all because again कौन करेगा यार, enjoy करो life, you know, more from that. So here he was guy who was kind of studying CAT bus में जाते आते, and even in the you know in the lunchtime you will remember study CAT. So he was like so I just one day he just said अरे देख ले एक बार ये क्या है यार. So then I just took I think one booklet home and I said अरे अच्छा है रे. I mean I didn't maybe I don't know what you said just now, but I didn't study. I mean, I didn't get into it more for that I want to join IIM. I never thought in my dreams that I will crack CAT. I'll be very, very honest. Never in my dreams. I started studying because I just liked it. I genuinely liked studying, you know. So I just studied, अरे अच्छा लग रहा है यार. So then he had joined this, I think, thing called IMS. तभी there used to be this IMS, right? So I also joined. He said, "चलो ठीक है." So I mean, I don't want to say it crudely. I just did it for time pass. I'll be very honest because I liked it. It seems fun. This quantitative. I mean, I like maths. So you know, analytical. ये वो English थोड़ा interesting. I mean, till then I had never because till then I was always engineering. I have never given any aptitude tests in my life before that. So I had never seen such a kind of a exam, and I found that whole MCQs thing very interesting. You know, strategy of negative marking, or कैसे करना है, how much to attempt, whether to focus on speed, accuracy. I found that whole thing very interesting, and slowly I found myself really. I remember my schedule was I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, study for 2 hours a day. My parents almost got a shock. ये क्या कर रहा है, पागल हो गया एलएनटी में जाके. ये इतनी या तो माय फादर से जॉब जॉब से इतनी नफरत आ गई है कि इतना आई मीन कभी जिंदगी में देखा नहीं है ऐसे करते हुए कि जॉब के साथ बेटा सुबह 4 बजे उठ के पढ़ाई कर रहा है, क्या है ये. तो सो आई रिमेम्बर आई यूज्ड टू वेक अप एट 4 o'clock, स्टडी फॉर 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the morning. Then my bus used to come at 7 o'clock, and then come back in the evening, and then again study for. I mean, I think my pattern was every day in the morning. The CAT paper was I think 2 hours, right? So I
Two
used to
hours.
solve the paper in the morning. In the evening, I'll come back and analyze the paper. So where I went wrong, what was wrong, this that. So I as I said, I just started enjoying the process. So I think that was again a first lesson in my life, which I have still. I mean, a bit philosophical now. I mean, enjoy the process without the outcomes. I mean, is what Gita
Right. So
says,
so
right? So
you were actually, because you like that type of DI, maths, reasoning, those sort of things, इसलिए you were doing it. Of course, IIM में अगर हो गया because of that, I'm sure you were like कि ठीक है हो जाएगा IIM में, और हुआ तो हुआ, नहीं हुआ तो you were anyways enjoying it, weren't you? बट मेरे को तो ये
I
बड़ा
was
सही लग रहा है. मेरे को तो यू गॉट इनटू इट क्योंकि बिकॉज यू हैड योर द आइडल जिसके बारे में आपने सपने लिए हुए थे, वो आपको एक तो साक्षात आपके एलएनटी में आ गए, सेम बस में जा रहे हैं, वो आपको हेल्प भी कर रहे हैं. इट्स लाइक कि मतलब कि यार मतलब उसमें क्या मैं पैरेलल करूं कि यार वो बेसिकली वो गैलेक्सी अपार्टमेंट में सलमान खान दिख गया, दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. बर्थडे पे आके उसने वेव भी कर लिया. वाज दैट द ऑरा दैट यू गॉट?
So in fact, I
from
was telling
Mr.
Subbu that I
Subramaniam.
mean I tell everybody was he's responsible for. I mean again, I mean there were other guys also in the ecosystem. Then obviously you came to know others who trainees who were studying. You shared your inputs, etc., etc. But I mean he was the guy, if I may say, he really got me thought कि अरे ये ऐसे कुछ है, you know. But I mean I'll just tell you another side story, which now you might look at it the other way. So when this was happening, as I said, I got bored of LNT कि यार मैकेनिकल क्या करना है. तभी I think Infosys came up with a job post कि तो one of my friends in LNT, he wanted to go to Infosys. He said कि चलो यार आशीष अभी यहाँ पे Infosys की टेस्ट है, चल ऐसे ही शाम को मैं भी जा रहा हूँ, मेरे साथ चल. तो ऐसे ठीक है चलो. तो आई वेंट टू Infosys टेस्ट और Infosys में I got selected. So in fact, and this happened just even I think our results come in April or May, right? So I was supposed to join Infosys in August and IIM Bangalore in July. So if I had not come to IIM Bangalore, I would have joined Infosys in 1998 July. Now you decide what which life arc would have been better. Now,
तो अगर अगर उस टाइम
so
पे 1997 98 के इन्फोसिस के थोड़े से भी स्टॉक ऑप्शन मिले होते, I don't know how many millions you've earned so far, but those would
so
have been worth their weight, more than the weight in gold.
so whether I should now praise Rajesh Subramaniam or blame him, you decide. I told you the facts.
Yeah, yeah. But it was your decision.
So
So,
yeah, so,
so you started studying for it because you liked it, and since we kind of already know you got into IIM, that's why you're sitting here. You're telling us a
no,
story.
so
So
in
first
fact,
attempt, you got
that
into IIM.
yeah, so in fact that is also a story. Like, so I remember I had not even imagined I will get. So I think that time I think first L result came online. So somebody told me in my company because there were this lot of other guys who were giving. अरे आशीष वकले तेरा L में हो गया है, तेरा L में shortlist हो गया है, L में shortlist हो गया है. So that okay चलो L में हो गया है. Then one of my friends in IMC he immediately wrote to me. He saw अरे आशीष तेरा C में हो गया है. I said अच्छा C में हो गया है. देन माई पेरेंट्स कॉल्ड अरे आशीष बैंगलोर से टेलीग्राम आ गया है, अहमदाबाद से टेलीग्राम आ गया है. एंड आई रिमेंबर अहमदाबाद से टेलीग्राम आ गया. दैट टाइम आई थिंक यूज टू गेट द इंटरव्यू कॉल्स ऑन टेलीग्राम, यू नो. आई थिंक दोज वर द डेज ऑफ द टेलीग्राम विच इज नाउ डेड आई थिंक. सो अरे आशीष
No,
तेरा
Telegram is
अहमदाबाद से
not dead. Telegram is an app now.
या इट इज़ अ ऐप ओके. द टेलीग्राफिक ट्रांसफर इफ यू द. सो अरे आशीष तेरा अहमदाबाद से हो गया है एंड जीडी इंटरव्यू वाज आई थिंक इन 7 days. मेरी तो लग गई ऐसे. ये तो आई मीन फ्रॉम ऑल यू नो थिंकिंग कि बस होगा ही नहीं टू गेट ऑल 4 calls एंड द बेस्ट ऑफ देम द इंटरव्यू इज इन 7 days. So then again Mr. Rajesh Subramaniam came into my life. He said, so he took me to this guy. There was used to be a guy who used to train people for GDN interviews. So Mr. Rajesh Subramaniam took me to this guy. His name was Rajesh Kamathya. He used to I think work in HR in some company and train people for GDN. So he took, and I think Rajesh Subramaniam was already going to him. So you know, and he was much more polished. I didn't even know कि इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स क्या पढ़ते हैं. वो पिंग कुछ होता है पता है, मैंने कभी ज़िंदगी में पढ़ा नहीं था. मैंने कभी बिजनेस स्टार्डस्ट के आगे मेरी रीडिंग नहीं थी. So first day I lined up to with Rajesh Subramaniam to this guy's house. He gives me this business magazines. आशीष ये तुझे नेक्स्ट 3 दिन में पढ़नी है. आई सेड ये क्या है. तो आई रिमेंबर आई रेड, ही गिव मी सम बिजनेस मैगजीन. उसमें तो मुझे आधे वर्ड जीडीपी, ये तो फिस्कल डेफिसिट, ये क्या है ये सब. तो आई जस्ट वेंट नेक्स्ट डे ऐसे मेरे से तो होने होने नहीं वाला है ये. So, but then whatever happened, so next 7 days, I think we really slogged out. He used to take my interviews, and I had never been in any kind of public speaking debate. So I was extremely scared of GD. ये 5 लोग हैं, मैं क्या अगेन एज एज नो यू कम विद अ कॉम्प्लेक्स कि मेरे में क्या है, लक से तो मैं आगे. आई मीन नाउ आई नो दैट यू हैव दिस थिंग कॉल्ड इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम. आई डोंट नो इफ यू हैव रेड दैट. यू फील यू डोंट बिलोंग
क्या होता है? What is it?
इवन.
What is imposter syndrome? I
So
think I've read
there's
it, but I can't remember it for the
so
life
this
of me.
is a mental model called imposter. So you always feel that even if you are get something, you feel कि अरे मेरे को लक से मिल गया है तो I don't deserve. So if you get a promotion, you will feel कि अरे यार मुझे कैसे मिला, मेरे से मे बी उसको मिलना चाहिए था. Like if I got
Hmm.
selected, I mean मुझे if I've got all 4 calls, फिर भी मुझे लगता है यार मैं I am में मैं क्या करूँगा जाके, you know. So you feel like that, you know. So GD में and in my class itself where I went, the other guys were so polished. They're speaking, क्या they used to talk this, that, and मुझे तो यार I used to struggle to even talk. So I was very very scared of GD and PI. So in 7 days, I think we had IIM Ahmedabad. Again, me and Rajesh, we were together. We went together to Ahmedabad. And I think GD was okay, so I think I managed the GD. The topic was something pretty straightforward, I think. So I mean, and
The
now I think
Ahmedabad interviews didn't happen in Bombay, kya? You had
no,
to go to
Ahmedabad
Ahmedabad.
interviews used to happen in the West used to be happen in Ahmedabad, I think. Yeah.
But
So the
with L&T, you were posted in Bombay only.
the LNT was in Bombay. Yeah. I mean, just close to my house. So
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 you mentioned Ashish, just taking one step back कि रोज सुबह mock test देना है full test और फिर शाम को analyze कर. So how many of such tests you would have given
I think lots. Yeah. I think do
ballpark?
easily 70, 80 maybe.
Wow.
Hmm.
At least
तो
because I
बेसिकली
remember
तीन चार महीने
weekday used
डेली,
to be test and week.
3-4 महीने डेली 2 घंटे का
So in
टेस्ट
fact,
इन द
that is where I
मॉर्निंग.
think every
वेरी
day,
गुड.
every day, every day. I remember,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
So
that would have been a big contributor to. We see a lot of people recommend कि regular test दो, practice करो, see where you're going wrong and just rinse repeat जैसे बोलते हैं.
yeah, so
And I
I
think
think yeah,
what you did is analyze it. I see a lot of people doing tests. But उसके बाद
हाँ,
क्यों
and
गलती
not
हुई
looking at.
वो
हाँ.
कोई नहीं करता है. बहुत कम लोग करते हैं. And I personally also found that part the most useful. कि शुरू में मैं नहीं कर रहा था. Someone told me कि यार एनालिसिस कर, चाहे टेस्ट 2 कम कर दे, 10 कम कर दे. लेकिन जो किया है उसको एनालाइज पूरा कर 2 घंटे.
no, no, correct. I think the maximum gains are in the analysis part. I mean, in fact, I tell everyone, yeah, what is and the other learning which I got, which even I tell people in the beginning, focus on accuracy. Speed will come because a lot of people I think get carried away by the speed. Ki cat is all. I mean, any competitive exam, even today, my kids giving SAT and also I tell first focus ki boss. The moment you see a question, you should know कि मुझे ये नहीं आने वाला है. Knowing that is also art. To know कि मुझे नहीं आने वाला है या मुझे इसमें time लगेगा. You should be able to know, and it's I think also relates to life, right? Knowing what you can't do is I think a big skill, very underrated skill. As a leader, you find because if you think you can do everything, then you're gone. Knowing what you can't do well, what you are not good at. So I mean, I'm trying to correlate these things to larger picture, but that is a very underrated skill. So yeah, so moment you see a situation, you should know ki boss, this I'm not the right guy for this. I have to my job is to find a better guy than me. And there is no shame. Even as a leader, it might be your subordinate, it might be somebody else, it might be somebody outside the organization, but that is your job.
I don't understand this. Like, how could you be so focused to go through 4 months of 2 hours of preparation work every day just because you like the preparation? Mane, a guy like me or like most people I know, we can't like.
There are two, three things. So as I said, I mean, really, this is Gita, no. So I really didn't have the outcomes in mind. There was no pressure on me. I was not doing out of any pressure कि मुझे I have to get this. This is make or break. कि ये नहीं हुआ तो क्या करेंगे.
Hmm,
I had no pressure. I had zero pressure.
hmm,
So I was not at all focused on the outcomes. Maybe I mean in retrospect, that was the reason. So it was almost like a game for me, no.
hmm.
I was looking at it more like a game कि यार मुझे ये मिल रहा है, ये अच्छा अच्छा इसमें और कर सकते हैं, ये कर सकते हैं. So it was purely like a game.
So
How
is it also Ashish क्योंकि मतलब Subbu was also doing it. There were a few other people also studying at the same time with you. So did you guys compare notes also कि अच्छा क्या score चल रहा है, what is happening where?
I don't think we compared score and all anything, but yeah, we used to discuss. I mean, by default, everybody was discussing either GRE or CAT. क्योंकि LNT the table में जो होते हैं लोग, because again, see now again retrospectively looking back, everybody in that table was maybe the toppers or like of that college, so so everybody was very focused, obviously discussing कि यार ये GRE or CAT. So maybe that was also reason I didn't want to be left out यार कि I mean चलो सब discuss करे तो यार I also have to be a part of that discussion, no, so feeling a part of the group. So maybe that is also reason that I did चलो कुछ तो करते हैं, मैं तो ऐसे मैं कुछ भी नहीं कर रहा हूँ. You feel like a outsider.
अच्छा,
And
so you gave all these interviews. उस टाइम पे 4 IIM होते थे. They were और 2 नए खुलने वाले थे but खुले नहीं थे. So A, B, C, L, you got all 4. And did you get selected for all four?
I got
And
I mean I still remember my IIM Ahmedabad interview also very 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 vividly. So I think I forgot who the professors are. I was just simply asked a question. I think my CAT score would have been really killing. So I think the interview, now when I look back at the interview, they were kind of just wanted to get through it because they knew कि ये तो आने वाला है types is what I have a feeling. So they just asked me, okay, what are you passionate about? What do you like? What is the topic you want to discuss? I had never thought of this because you always go ready for ये question पूछेंगे ये answer देना है. This open-ended stuff really is very difficult, कि what do you want to discuss about? I said, what are you passionate about? What do you think is the problem facing India? I think then somebody asked me, I said population. I said just said population.
okay.
So then I think he asked me, what is the population of India? I said, no clue. Then he asked me, okay, what is the population? What is the population growth of India? I said, no clue. He said, okay, take a guess. I said 10%. so, so then he caught into it. Okay, if the population of the India is today 100, if it is growing at 10%, how long will it take to double? I said, yeah, about 8-9 years maybe. He said, so do you want to change your mind? I said, yeah, 5%. Okay, then how will, so he just got me onto it. And then I think my interview was done, and obviously I didn't get selected. So I think I really screwed it up. It was like India's match to lose. So I say it was my interview to lose. And the other interviews actually, I got through the remaining three. And so yeah, I mean, other
So
interviews I don't think I
Ahmedabad
did
was
well.
your first interview.
Ahmedabad was the first interview. The other interviews, I think there were 3 weeks gap left, so I had some time to prepare, some confidence gain, and I think the other interviews were very easy, like a cakewalk. I think I remember getting asked, "Ki, do you have a girlfriend?" And then I saying, "No, I have friends who are girls." I mean, all these kind of stuff. So
Ashish, what is the difference between the two in your
that was
view?
the same that was the same interview. So I mean, again, coming to a separate time, I was extremely scared of girls. So I forget, I didn't have a girlfriend, I didn't have a friend who was girl, I had nothing. I was extremely scared of
The
girls.
story of engineering college, I can understand.
It's not about engineering. So actually in Bombay engineering colleges there are reasonable number of girls.
Okay.
So it's not like
चाओ चाओ, you are confusing IIT. तू अपना IIT का एक्सपीरियंस ये बॉम्बे के कॉलेजेस पे मत डाल.
Possibly, yeah.
And again, so again, it also sometimes comes back to your background. Maybe I was the only child, no sister. So in fact, even with my cousins, I had no close cousins. Either my cousins were very old or very small. So even there was nobody in my age group. So again, never maybe interacted with the opposite sex or something. So it was
So I'm
something
going to
always
park this topic and come back to
okay,
it later.
okay, okay.
Mainly because now you live in a house, you've got a wife and two daughters. So now you're surrounded on a day-to-day basis. But we will go on to that topic in a little while. What I really want to understand from you is कि why Bangalore? Why not Calcutta? Why not
Yeah,
Lucknow?
again,
कोई
very
लीग टेबल तो
interesting.
होता नहीं था उस टाइम पर.
नहीं, again very interesting actually. So I spent a lot of time intellectualization on कि ये बैंगलोर में कोई बोलता था ये फाइनेंस अच्छा है, कलकत्ता में इंजीनियर्स के लिए अच्छा है, ये वो. I remember I then somebody I think so if you remember our senior Anirudh Kusurkar. So I had his brother was in my school. So I had gone to his house to meet Anirudh Kusurkar. So I remember Anirudh Kusurkar telling me, यार बैंगलोर में वेदर अच्छा है और दारू अच्छी है. So these are the two things which I caught on to. I said, forget all this, yaar. So दारू अच्छी है, weather अच्छा है, we will select Bangalore. That was the
Yeah.
basis of my selecting Bangalore. Nothing else. Very
And
simple.
I'll just share here. मेरी भी थोड़ी सी similar story थी. So I had all four. अहमदाबाद भी था, and इंदौर भी था. But so that's a separate story, of course. New IIM में तो नहीं select करना था. I did a process of elimination. Lucknow was supposed to be the fourth, the newest IIM तो ABC में होता था. And now there were different people at that time giving different, but generally hierarchy was A and then B and C together. उस time पर mid 90s में. Uh, and then I thought, मैंने लोगों से पता किया, some people said कि यार B भी अच्छा है, सब कुछ अच्छा है. I chose very honestly. मैंने बोला यार सी तो जाना नहीं है, सी तो इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज है, इससे ज़्यादा तो लड़कियां मेरे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के कोर्स में थी यूनिवर्सिटी में. So सी नहीं जाना, सी was eliminated. Then it was A and B. And I had a similar choice. यार अहमदाबाद गुजरात was prohibition state. Now I know कि सोमनी में मिल जाता था, but as a 20 something year old, आपको लाइफ में दो ही चीजें चाहिए होती हैं यार, कि यार आर देयर सम लेवल ऑफ a boy girl mix, a male female mix, rather than just go into a sausage fest. And the second one was the
So
second one
you
was कि
you
यार
had
मतलब
you
दो
had got
साल
Ahmedabad?
हॉस्टल में रहेंगे, हाउ विल वी सर्वाइव विदाउट, मतलब नींबू पानी पीकर थोड़ी ना निकालेंगे.
No, so you had got into Ahmedabad and you
Yeah,
left
I
Ahmedabad?
had Ahmedabad
Oh,
and I chose
oh,
Bangalore
that
over
is.
that. Of course,
Oh,
I have, I mean, my dad wanted me to go to Ahmedabad, but then I managed to convince him. और उसका सबसे बड़ा था यार, I'll tell you now, उस टाइम पे मेरे को कभी कभी लगता था कि यार अहमदाबाद लेना चाहिए था एंड सो ऑन. कितने फ्लिम्जी रीजन पे आपने किया है, ठीक है. एंड वेदर वाज आल्सो अ वेरी गुड, वेदर वाज आल्सो अ बिग बिग फैक्टर कि यार वेदर है. देयर वाज अ मच बेटर जेंडर मिक्स in Bangalore. Of course, Calcutta was the worst at that time. I guess they have changed now. I don't know. And Ahmedabad was something in the middle, and then it was Bangalore was the up and coming center. Us time for Infosys and all that was a, we were talking about the pre-dot-com bust era. Everything was IT, like you were saying. So I really feel proud कि यार मतलब I took Bangalore, although I'm sure I would have made a lot of friends in Ahmedabad also, but I'm quite proud कि यार all you people and the others I came to Bangalore. But coming back to you, तो तूने Bangalore choose किया. मैं एक चीज और पूछना चाहता हूँ before we move to the post IIM journey that you had. So you had all these process of eliminations, and then at L&T your decision making was broadly based on कि यार you do what people around you are doing. And I think Vix ने पीछे बोला था it's about that tribe thing. So Vix, in that language, Ashish was part of that tribe, और उसमें you can't not do that and you'll be the odd one out. कोई GRE कर रहा है, कोई CAT कर रहा है. And एक चीज I just remembered, you were saying कि मेरा स्कोर बहुत अच्छा होगा CAT में. I think for the new viewers, क्योंकि अब तो आपका परसेंटाइल डिक्लेयर होता है, but what people probably don't know कि लेट 90s में किसी को पता नहीं था कि क्या होता है. And we had cases, like I said, Ahmedabad was slightly on top, then Bangalore and Calcutta were like close seconds, and depending who you ask, कौन सा 2 है, कौन सा 3 है, and there were only 4, so Lucknow was the fourth. And I had heard cases, I'm sure all of you had, कि अहमदाबाद से कॉल आई, बाकी किसी IIM से नहीं आई. किसी को
Correct.
उस टाइम पे भी नहीं पता था क्यों ये क्यों है. फिर होता था कि
Hmm.
लखनऊ और बैंगलोर से आई, अहमदाबाद और कलकत्ता से नहीं आई, एंड सो मेनी परम्यूटेशंस एंड कॉम्बिनेशंस, एंड वी हैड अ ब्लैक बॉक्स एट दैट टाइम. नो वन हैड अ क्लू कि ये स्कोर क्या है, क्या उनका मिक्स क्या है, किस
क्राइटेरिया
बेसिस
क्या
पे.
है, कुछ नहीं मालूम.
अब पोस्ट कैट and during the IIM, as a starting point, from what I remember, you did your internship in Unilever, or Hindustan Lever as it was called then.
no, I did my
And
internship in a bank actually, ABN bro.
okay, ABN AMRO, and then you, okay, Lever you got as the final placement.
I got as a final placement. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us something about that. कि क्यों ABN AMRO? Was it luck of the draw? Did you have any intent? या वो भी ऐसे ही चल रहा था कि सब लोग इंटरव्यू दे रहे हैं तो मैं भी देता हूँ.
Exactly. I mean, there's no luck of the draw. जो मिला वो लिया. So it's nothing like again. So I remember again in my IIM also initially I was absolutely dumbstruck because I thought अरे यार ये सब क्या लोग हैं यार, मैं इनके बीच कैसे करूँगा. So my in fact I think so what really changed my life in fact in IIMB was the first term management accounting,
Okay.
and I got a A grade in that. सो तभी मुझे लगा कि यार पास कुछ तो मेरे में है ऐसे, समथिंग
And
कुछ. आई मीन
you are
ऑब्वियसली
an engineer. कभी अकाउंट्स देखे नहीं थे लाइफ में उससे पहले.
मुझे आई हैड नो आइडिया ऑफ फिस्कल डेफिसिट और क्या है.
Yeah.
आई हैड जीरो. कभी मैंने इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स खोल के नहीं देखा था. सो एंड प्लस व्हेन आई केम आई वाज एब्सोल्युटली इन ऑ ऑफ द एवरीबडी अराउंड. शुरू में यू फील अरे आई एम, बट देन नाउ वंस यू आर इन 2 months इन आई एम आई सेड अच्छा ये लोग आई एम से है तो ठीक है यार.
So
And no offense
that
to you,
quote
Mix.
of
No offense
the
to you.
Groucho Marx quote.
No offense.
Do you remember the Groucho Marx had a quote, a pretty famous one, where he said, "I don't want to be part of a. I don't like to be part of a club that has me as a member."
Yes, exactly. I think you're spot on. So, and I
And I
think you
think
also.
another thing that has worked out in my life is that don't go too close to your idols. They'll stop being your idol. So, IIMs is an idol, but once you get in there, it stops being your idol. It's not that as fancy as you imagined it to be.
No, no, very
No,
true, very
Ashish,
true.
you talked about management accounting. I think that's one thing which I also relate to, क्योंकि जब घुसे थे तो उससे पहले कभी लाइफ में डेबिट क्रेडिट कुछ नहीं समझा था. And I remember there was so much of unlearning, especially for commerce students to do, than for the engineering students जो पहली बार सीख रहे थे. And in our batch, I think उसमें हमारे सेक्शन में आई वाज इन बी सेक्शन, तो जो टॉप 10 लोग थे मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटिंग में, उसमें देयर वर 9 इंजीनियर्स एंड 1 कॉमर्स ग्रेड. तो इट वाज अ वेरी डिफरेंट एक्सपीरियंस फॉर अस कि यार अच्छा ये चीज भी हम कर सकते हैं.
And
Yeah,
Chow,
so I think
you were also top 10 in after first year, right? You were a director merit list, correct? And
Yeah.
you're from section B. So yeah, I think another thing I noticed was I don't remember what was the breakup, but I think there were more engineers in the top 10 students in our batch instead of
Yes.
non-engineers.
I think that is also reflection of the batch
Of
composition.
the
So
If we are
batch.
I'll tell you
majority
my
engineers and
hypothesis on
majority,
that.
yeah,
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 हाँ
go
बोलो.
ahead.
my hypothesis, like Ashish was saying, is that was a time till the 90s, and then things have changed. Although uh, the time was कि यार अगर आप पढ़ाई में अच्छे हो तो आप engineering या medical ही करोगे. I mean, nothing against commerce and other streams, but 90% if you are getting grades, so आप जाते ही engineering में, whether you want to be an engineer was irrelevant back in the day. And 90s में
Correct.
थोड़ा सा change होना शुरू हुआ था, but it was still
Yeah, but
there.
it was not.
मतलब
It was still the default choices. Like you say, साइंस है.
राइट राइट
अच्छे
सो
अच्छा
कुछ
पढ़ रहे हो
लोग
तो
ये
साइंस
कर लेते
लोगे.
थे बिकॉज ऑफ फैमिली कि डैड सी हैं तो ठीक है, इट इज एक्सेप्टेबल, या कॉमर्स एक्सेप्टेबल है बिकॉज ऑफ सम रेलेवेंट, डायरेक्टली रेलेवेंट रीजन. बट अदरवाइज engineers cracking accounts was more because कि यार वो already वो पढ़ाकू लोग थे इसलिए वो engineer बने, rather than वो engineer थे इसलिए
हाँ, नहीं
कुछ हुआ.
नहीं,
That's my logic actually.
नहीं
अभी
नहीं,
I'm sure it is
I agree.
different.
I agree with that, and I think, see, what the point which I was making is the way in which it was taught, right? In one semester, the concepts were made much clearer by the professors at IIM than probably what students got at BCom colleges and so on. So somehow the concepts were clearer for us because we had learnt it for the first time that way.
No, and also I think engineers process. So I mean, again I remember a story on this. We had this second term, I think macroeconomic subject. Remember? So we had this ISLM
Jamal
curve
Roy,
and all
right?
the, yeah, Shamal Roy. So again,
Jamal
I
Roy.
never understood anything in macroeconomics, and I mean I used to stay with Sahil Bhandari. Sahil Bhandari was used to always rave, "Arey Shamal Roy, ye wo." He used to talk about eco and all. I had never understood. So I remember the exam tha tabhi. So I went to him to ask for doubts, and I still didn't figure. Then he started asking me questions. So then he realized कि मैंने वो IS और LM के फॉर्मूले रट्टे हुए थे, और everything I was answering with keeping those formulas in mind कि ये बढ़ेगा तो ये कम, क्योंकि ये डिनोम, ये बढ़ेगा ये बढ़े, everything was very mathematical. तो he told me, इको ऐसे पढ़ता है तू? I said, यार मुझे ऐसे ही समझता है, वो फार्मूला मुझे याद है, वो अगर मनी सप्लाई बढ़ेगा वो तो ये कम होगा, वो डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल, एवरीथिंग वाज वेरी इंजीनियरिंग फोकस्ड. एंड ही सेड, यार ऐसे थोड़ी ना इको पढ़ते, इको यू हैव टू, कुछ तो उसके वर्ड्स थे, आई थिंक यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इट, यू हैव टू फील इट, यू हैव टू सी, विजुअलाइज इट. मैं बोला मेरे से नहीं होता है, ये तो मुझे फार्मूला है, यहाँ पे ये ऊपर जाएगा नीचे होगा. एंड आई गॉट ए ग्रेड. तो आई रिमेंबर ही वाज शॉक्ड, तुझे ए ग्रेड मिला उसमें. So without understanding macro, I mean anything about what is actually happening, just for mathematically I just managed to ratta maar ke, and so that is, I think you are trained as an engineer, कि just do it everything mathematically as a process कि ऐसे. So I mean it's a funny thing I remembered, yeah, when you're talking
हाँ,
about
वो
this.
इंटरनलाइज एज अ सब्जेक्ट नहीं होता, बट वो एक तरह से समझ आ गया कि हाँ ऐसे करना है, ठीक है.
So IIM के बाद you go to this Unilever, which is more of a marketing job, correct?
That's right.
So
So again,
Unilever
actually,
क्यों? Why was that a choice, or was it also luck of the draw?
so actually I mean again in IIM, my profile was, I was a jack of all trades, and I mean I mean the polished way of calling that is that I was a generalist, but basically I was a jack of all trades and master of none. So I had taken, I remember इंटरनेशनल फिनेंस भी लिया था मैंने, ब्रांड वो कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर भी लिया था मैंने, वो जो सेकंड इलेक्टिव्स में आई हैड टेकन मार्केटिंग इलेक्टिव्स. सो इन माय माइंड आई थिंक आई वाज हेजिंग माई सेल्फ कि बॉस ये नहीं तो ये भी चलेंगे, ये भी करेंगे, ये भी करेंगे, यू नो, काइंड ऑफ समथिंग, ट्राइंग टू कीप योर फीट ऑन ऑल द stones. And actually I had decent grades. So again, I was not like, I think I was at 44th rank. So I think I was not like top 10, but I was not bad also. So respectable grades I would call myself. And
That's
so I
top
think in the
20
final,
percentile, right? Around 20
yeah,
percentile, which is pretty good.
nice way of putting it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels
No, the
good when
reason
you
I'm
say that.
saying is 40, 45 is we only had a batch of 180. It wasn't as if आजकल from what we hear is कि 600 लोग हैं IIM Bangalore में.
Yeah, correct.
That's a huge batch.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. So uh, as I said, तो फाइनल में मुझे आई थिंक आई हैड ऑफर फ्रॉम ICICI बैंक. मुझे ICICI बैंक से ऑफर था, एंड HUL ऑल्सो ऑफर्ड मी. तो यार, तो आई मीन, सो वो इनफैक्ट वो आई रिमेंबर वो ICICI बैंक वाला मुझे बोल रहा था, यार वी आर ऑफरिंग इन प्रोजेक्ट फाइनेंस, और वहाँ पे यूनिलीवर में मार्केटिंग. आई मीन ये कैसे है, ये कैसा बंदा है, आई मीन आई थिंक यू, ये कैसा बंदा है यहाँ पे, ही इज चूजिंग बिटवीन ICICI प्रोजेक्ट फाइनेंस एंड यूनिलीवर मार्केटिंग. And I think I just chose because it seemed to be a better, again, it's more perception ki, oh, it's gold. I think I remember somebody telling me, Kotler, if I remember correctly, Kotler's words were, yaar Unilever ja, it is gold, you don't know, you have hit black gold, uske words the. Because I think he had done his internship in Unilever, and obviously there was this also thing about Unilever being this whole CEO factory and this kind of stuff, you know. So that is why I chose Unilever. So again, there was nothing that I thought I liked marketing or something. It was kind of going with what the popular perception, if I may use the word, you know, popular perception, rather than just asking ki. Actually, if I look back, thinking what I really wanted to do, I think I would have liked a systems job, to be honest. In my heart, somewhere I was a very process oriented, and but maybe it was very unglamorous to say, right, कि मैं ops or systems में करूँगा, you know, because so I think that is where I chose Unilever. I will be
So
open
you
that
chose
time.
marketing, which is glamorous and everything. And if I remember right, you managed to reach Brazil. So tell us some stories. How did you reach Brazil and what happened there? क्या मतलब as a 21-year-old without a girlfriend तुम ब्राजील में पहुंच गए क्या किया?
Yeah, Brazil was actually again very interesting. So in fact, first 3 months of Unilever, I was in this place called Itarsi. I don't know even if you know. There's this small place in MP called Itarsi. So
That
I was
used to
in
be
this
the
place.
big factory, right?
No, Itarsi was not a factory. Itarsi is
या
a
हब
junction.
था,
I think
वेयर
you're
हाउस
talking
हब
of,
था, कुछ तो था,
no,
उनका
no.
सेंटर था
I
वहाँ.
think you're talking of Ita. That is in north.
Oh yeah,
So
Ita,
Ita.
yeah, sorry, yeah,
So
Ita.
Itarsi is a big junction in MP, which is a very big railway junction. So it was a market. So it was just a marketing stint, sales stint. It was awful. It was like the most. In fact, I was a miserable period of my life in the sense socially. कुछ भी नहीं था उधर. There was nothing. There was just hotel के नीचे उतर तो there was like open nala. There's no. I used to every day used to have an old monk in my room just to kill boredom. And I remember I used to go and watch trains on station. That was my pastime. I would just go and sit on the railway station for half an hour. कि ये train आ रही है, ये train जा रही है. That was my pastime and entertainment. So that was my life in
No, I
Itarsi.
think I do identify with that. Like one of my pastimes at the age of 46 has become to go to the train station and just watch trains come and go. I think
Trains or people?
ah, it feels very good. Like the idea of a train track and you can get on it and go anywhere.
No, again, so since you're talking of that, interestingly, I am since childhood very fascinated by trains. So in
Mm,
fact, when you were talking of Bangalore and Calcutta, one thing which was prompting me to choose Calcutta was that the train travel was longer. So in fact, I would get
yes.
Bangalore was 24 hours from Bombay, Calcutta was 36 hours. So for
Okay.
me, traveling for 36 hours was something very
Yes.
exotic. Oh, I will get to travel for
Yes.
36 hours. So I've always been fascinated. So that aside, but in fact, so I used to go to Itarsi to watch trains in the evening. So
Mm,
that was how miserable my life was. And suddenly then I get told that, oh, because I think that year Unilever started this thing of international stint in your first year.
mm.
And I think I was among the first few who were chosen. So in Itarsi, I get this thing कि यार you're going to Brazil. I said, boss, from Itarsi से लेके सीधा Brazil is like what a journey. So so yeah, on that I had no clue क्या है ये ब्राज़ील, ये क्या है, what, and that time there was no internet to research or anything, right? So I remember I just came to Bombay. वो बॉम्बे में मुझे बोला कि तुम्हें पहले तो यार कुछ एयर फ्रांस की फ़्लाइट लेनी है। तो मैं बोला यार एयर फ्रांस की फ़्लाइट, जो मुझे लगा ओके बॉम्बे ब्राज़ील होगी एयर फ्रांस की फ़्लाइट। आई मीन तभी इतना आई नेवर ट्रैवल, आई थिंक आई ट्रैवल्ड इंटरनेशनली वंस इन माय यंग व्हेन, सो आई नेवर हैड एनी एक्सपोजर टू इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवल। दिस फंडा ऑफ एयर फ्रांस विल ऑलवेज फ्लाई टू पेरिस, ये सब पता नहीं था। तो आई सेड होगी, आई मीन आई डिडंट इवन लुक एट माय टिकट्स की क्या है फ़्लाइट, वो जो उसने दिए। एंड देन शी सेड ओके तुम्हें येलो फीवर का इंजेक्शन लेना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज टू गो टू ब्राज़ील यू हैव टू टेक अ इंजेक्शन फॉर येलो फीवर। So, and unfortunately, I think Bombay mein yellow fever vaccine was out. They had run out of stock. So then they did my tickets as Bombay, Delhi, and Delhi se Air France. So I had to just go to reroute my flight via Delhi, go to Delhi, take the yellow fever vaccination before going to Brazil. And so essentially, while my departure was pretty, because I was finishing my sales stint in Itarsi, I had to give all my project and all this stuff. वो सब था। सो इन शॉर्ट आई गॉट नो टाइम टू थिंक अबाउट वेयर आई एम गोइंग। मैंने फ़्लाइट की टिकट भी नहीं देखी थी कि क्या फ़्लाइट है, क्या है, व्हाट रूट, एनी नथिंग। जस्ट वो टिकट मिली, मुझे लगा एयर फ्रांस है, वो जाएगी। आई मीन आई एम गोइंग टू साओ paulo, इट विल बी बॉम्बे टू साओ paulo सीधा। आई मीन इट्स लाइक अ ट्रेन, राइट, यू थिंक। सो then I went to Delhi. I think I had met Kotler then. I stayed. I not. It was just the day, so I stayed in the evening with Kotler and Naru. They were in Gurgaon that day. They dropped me to Delhi airport. फिर वो दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट चेक इन में गया, तभी आई रियलाइज चले मेरी फ़्लाइट तो पेरिस, यहाँ पे कोई फ़्लाइट ही नहीं है। सो इनफैक्ट आई रिमेंबर आई आस्किंग कि वेयर इज़ द फ्लाइट टू साओ paulo. So then that lady said, no, no, sir, see, this is your flight. You go to Paris, then you will be taking another flight to Sao Paulo. मेरी फट गई, मतलब ये सब मैं कैसे करूँगा पेरिस में, changing flight and ये and वो. It suddenly it dawned. That was okay. So the flight to Paris was okay. Then I think I sat in the flight from Paris to Sao Paulo. तभी मेरी फट गई फ्रॉम द थॉट कि आई एम गोइंग टू फ्लाई द अटलांटिक ओशन। बोला बाप रे यार, ऐसे 8, देन आई रियलाइज द रोड कि 8 घंटे तो मैं आई विल बी फ्लाइंग ओवर अटलांटिक ओशन। सो दैट शिट स्कैर्ड मी. Then the next thing which suddenly I realized was language, because again now you've never been exposed to people who don't understand English, कि ऐसे भी लोग होते हैं. Very first time when I sat in my flight from Paris to Sao Paulo, the air hostess came and said good job, something she said in French or whatever. Then I realized कि यार
What? I heard something. क्या बोला?
whatever यार, whatever bonjour or whatever they say ना, I don't know what you heard.
bonjour को कुछ और सुना तुमने?
No,
मैं तो कुछ और सुना, मतलब इसके हंसी से
Not
लगा
only
कि यार,
him, not only him, but I heard the same thing. So he
I think,
actually
yeah,
said that.
it shows your
वहीं पे
mind.
अभी भी.
It shows
that's
your
called a
mind.
Freudian slip.
It's a Freudian slip in hearing. Manish Chaudhary didn't
No,
hear
no,
it
no.
that
It's
way.
a
You
Freudian
guys
slip in
heard it.
saying. And the thing is, it's getting recorded, so we can go back and hear it again.
So yeah, so that's the first thing which struck me. यार ये ऐसे क्या है, तो यार यहाँ पे because I remember उसमें newspapers भी कुछ सब अलग language के थे. So that time the first thing, then when I landed to in Brazil, then I realized that guy who had come to receive me, he was also not speaking anything English. तभी मुझे strike हुआ कि यार oh shit, यहाँ पे यार I mean लोगों को English ही नहीं आती, ऐसे लोग हैं. कि this whole thing about that there are people who don't speak English. So then slowly I started going in. First thing which struck me, I remember again in my office, वो जो Microsoft के icons है ना, फाइल, वो भी पोर्चुगीज में थे, वो भी इंग्लिश में नहीं थे. ऐसे अभी क्या काम कैसे होगा, बिकॉज आई लिटरली रिमेंबर आई यूज्ड टू गो जस्ट मैकेनिकली, यहाँ पे फाइल होता है, यहाँ पे ओपन होता है, बिकॉज यू कुडंट नेविगेट इवन द कंप्यूटर, राइट, एवरीथिंग वाज इन Portuguese. Then I remember, I mean, there's so many things. I remember I first day went to the office. There was this HR lady. So तभी उससे पहले there was this engineer guy from IIT who had landed in Brazil 2 weeks before me. तो he had told me, अरे गोखले साहब जरा यहाँ संभाल के रहना, यहाँ पे जरा इंटरनेशनल तरीके से मिलते हैं. ऐसे समझा नहीं क्या, तो मुझे लगा तो क्या इंटरनेशनल तरीके. दिस वाज दिस इंजीनियर गाय, ही वाज लाइक ऑलरेडी एक्सपोज टू दैट. तो he said नहीं, यहाँ पे ना गले लगा के किस करते हैं. मैं बोला अच्छा है, नहीं ऐसे करना पड़ता है. तो आई डिडंट नो. तो आई रिमेंबर आई मेट दिस लेडी फ्रॉम HR. तो आई हग्ड हर एंड किस्ड हर. So then she said, but in India you guys don't do this, no? So
I don't know आशीष, मेरे को
Then-
पता नहीं क्यों एक देखो मौका मारो चौका याद आ रहा है, पता नहीं क्यों.
डांस पे डांस.
नहीं, इट वाज नॉट चांस पे डांस, जेन्युइनली इट वाज नॉट चांस पे डांस, इट वाज जस्ट फील नॉट, क्योंकि उसने बोला था कि यहाँ पे ऐसे करना पड़ता है, तो मैंने यार चलो लेट मी, आई मीन इट, एंड आई थिंक यू कैन सेंस नो व्हेन इट्स क्रूडली डन, बिकॉज यू आर आल्सो नर्वस, अरे कैसे इसको गले कैसे लगाओ यार, यू नो, सो दैट वाज, शी सेड कि यू इन इंडिया डू यू डू दिस, तो तभी मुझे, तो देन शी आल्सो लाफ्ड, शी टुक इट वेरी स्पोर्टिंगली, तो ठीक है, सो दैट वाज
देखने
लाइक
में कैसी थी? Was she an
माय,
old hag or was she?
yeah, yeah, she was good looking. Yeah, she was. I mean, again, it was first time you're looking at a, Caucasian skin, and this kind of white skin. So obviously blonde. So so that's the standard. So, but so it was very interesting actually. So initially, 2 months were very, so, and again, so the other thing I remember still distinctly was my first exposure to the other choices people have, because I remember my boss, and I used to interact a lot with my boss. So there were these other ladies in my team. They used to always giggle when I talked to him, and used to giggle. So I used to go for lunch with him. They used to laugh. Oh, you're going for lunch with him? I said, "Acha." I say. So then once I was just having lunch with him, I remember. I think some ladies, some girls were walking, so I was just looking at them. I said, yeah, they're good looking. ऐसे उसको मैंने कुछ बोला ऐसे, I mean, I passed some comment. तो मुझे देख के बोलता है कि हाँ, yeah, they're good, but it doesn't matter to me. मेरे को समझा नहीं मैं वो क्या, then it like, then the I think it's like some lightning struck in my mind. Oh, मेरा ऐसा, तभी you feel, again, these things are never something which you are completely anyway time exposed to, right? So then like, oh, ये लड़कियां ऐसे हंस रही थी, then so then things started falling piece together. So these things were like, suddenly you are exposed to so much different cultures. I remember I used to go to a restaurant. पहले तो यार वो restaurant में there used to be a photo of a cow. It was like their bio, neat label diagram, which piece it's like the which cut you have to select. That was like shocking. है क्या है? So first you have to explain saying कि, oh no, I don't eat a cow. फिर वो बोलेंगे कि वो chicken, because I think chicken was looked around, it's like a very poor man's meat. I think they used to call it frango. To frango. So so all these things were very this thing. So then again I remember one thing. So these few guys, there was some long weekend. So they took me to a trip. I think there was a swimming pool, and also, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, on MTV there used to be this show called MTV Grind. So everybody around a pool just dancing. It was a replica of that. I said, "ये क्या है?" Like,
So
I mean,
basically, okay, Gokhale, I'm just trying to imagine कि 2 दिन पहले या 2 हफ्ते पहले you were in Itarsi
Itachi.
counting trains, and then suddenly you are in MTV Grind in like 2001 or 2000.
2000, yeah.
2000 में ये सही है, मतलब इटारसी में ट्रेन स्टेशन से MTV Grind.
Sao Paulo में MTV Grind.
Sao Paulo been in Rio. This was in Rio. So I think in the long weekend we had gone to this
अच्छा,
Rio
you
de
went to Rio.
Janeiro. Yeah. So it was like exactly, I remember empty. मुझे वो अभी भी सीन याद है. I mean, first में ऐसे मेरी आंखें खड़ी हो गई, क्या है कि यार, I mean, I remember still वहाँ पे वो कॉकटेल का भी फंडा था. There was this like watermelons hanging. वो नीचे से पाइप था. आई थिंक वो वाटरमेलन्स को उसमें क्रश करके ऊपर से देवर पोरिंग सम लिकर, और नीचे से पाइप से देवर, ऐसे क्या चल रहा है, इट वाज लाइक सम रियल एक्सोटिक स्टफ हैपनिंग अराउंड मी. So it was very very shocking, no, I mean, not shocking, very very something new again. So evenings were very boring. It was very very, yeah, language. And I think now when I look back, I was also looked at like some species from zoo has come, and ये क्या बंदा है, ये कौन है ये, इसको language भी नहीं आती, because for them also I guess it would have been something new. So, and to be honest, looking back, I think I lost out on the opportunity. I mean, don't get me wrong, okay, not those opportunities which you're thinking of, but opportunity to really understand the culture, and to, I wish, I mean, now looking back, I would have assimilated more and made myself, I was very shy, very reticent kind of a guy, who looked kind of out of place when I look back at myself there. And I think, in fact, I remember my parents used to told me कि यार आशीष वहाँ पे, so I think my dad, there's this, I don't know if you know, in Brazil there are, of course, Amazon basin is very famous. Then there are also these spectacular waterfalls on the Brazil-Argentina border called Iguazu Falls, which is like, they are supposed to be even better than Niagara. So my parents told me कि आशीष वहाँ जाके आ तू वहाँ गया है तो जाके आ. I said नहीं नहीं यार, it's like I think it was some 14-hour journey from Sao Paulo and by flight it would have cost some money. So I said नहीं नहीं यार, पैसे सेव करते, क्यों इतने पैसे खर्चा करेगा. So I still remember मैं, so now I regret those things that कि maybe यार तभी जाना चाहिए था. But again, I think you're when you put yourself in that time, abhi you are talking with the hindsight, you have so much knowledge, you have easy this platforms, internet, things to research are so easy. That time even to know कि कैसे जाना है, बस कहाँ से लेनी है, किसको पूछे, it was so difficult. So yeah, but I mean, I that is something which I really regret, that I missed out on those opportunities, if you now understand me. So yeah, that was the things I remember for bro. I mean, then there's a lot of these. It was how similar it was to India and so forth. Yeah,
No, when you
and
say how similar it was to India, I have an interesting anecdote to share. That in 2001, I was in the US. So I came to San Francisco and बहुत different and all that. But then, for some reason, I ended up going to visit a friend in Maryland. So Maryland my friend से visit किया, फिर then both of us decided कि चलो we'll go to Niagara Falls. Maryland से drive करके 6-7 घंटे की drive थी. And we drove through small towns in America. And when I drove through those small towns in America, I felt that like you take out the big Walmart, right? And you take out that the houses look much bigger and well done, but the lifestyle was very similar, very slow, people relaxed. So even though India was much less well developed 23 years ago than America, but there were similarities between American small towns and Indian small towns.
the
And
first
that
thing which
that
I
drive Wix would have been more through the New England area. So वो पूरा है भी एरिया उस टाइप का ही,
Yes,
मतलब
it's
outside of the metros it is
yes.
no, I
more
remember
laid back.
distinctly this. I think first realization which I had, that the value for life, because I remember again, I was told there was this induction we had in the beginning. So I was told कि boss, एक तो रात को कुछ कुछ areas they showed me on the map, यहाँ पे जाना नहीं है. दूसरा कि
So you made
जाओगे.
sure you went there, right?
No, it's not that you went there. Obviously, so even अगर even वहाँ भी नहीं जाओगे, दूसरी जगह जाओगे तो वहाँ पे थोड़े पैसे रखने हैं. बिल्कुल
Mm,
खाली
mm,
जेब बिल्कुल नहीं जाना है.
mm,
That was second thing. क्योंकि if they find you and they don't have any cash, they don't think twice before just killing you, shooting you.
mm,
So this
mm.
thing about कि $10-20 के लिए लोग तुम्हें मार देंगे. The third thing I was told very clearly, I remember the taxi guys after say some 9-10 o'clock, when they approached the traffic light and it was red, they will go very slowly. They will never stop at the traffic light. They will approach the traffic light very slowly, wait for the traffic light to turn green and then pass by it, because they don't want to stop at it. I mean, these things just struck me. I said, in Bombay I have never even thought of these things, because again, Bombay maybe is one of the safest kind of supposed to be places in India. Supposedly you have ladies traveling in the night, and because I have traveled, my classmate, my girls used to travel by trains at night 12 o'clock. So I never even thought of these things कि यार so that was the other. And I think somewhere from whatever I hear from people, this still holds true, that the value for life. I mean, कुछ भी करो इंडिया में, I think even today, जान से मारना is like a big thing. It is
Mm,
not like
mm.
maybe a trivial thing कि 10-20 रुपए की तुमको जो नहीं है चलो मार दिया.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is, I remember this. Yeah.
In fact, in similar thing, Ashish, I recently met someone, I don't recall who was telling me ki when he was traveling to that part of the world, part of their training was, uh, I think somewhere in South America, only Colombia, कहीं जा रहा था. The part of the training was that, okay, what to do if you are kidnapped, right? Or how they should always ensure that they are keeping enough cash, at least $50-$100 with them, and so on, so that if they get kidnapped or if they get waylaid, then it's worth the time of the assailant. उसको ये नहीं लगना चाहिए कि अरे मेरा टाइम वेस्ट हो गया, इसके पास कुछ नहीं है. So if you have something to hand over, then yes, they will take that and let you go. But you need to make sure कि हाँ, you are always carrying some amount of cash and so on with you.
I know. I heard a similar thing. I had a colleague once in London who was South African. And apparently, carjacking, at least in the last 20-30 years, was very. South Africa has been infamous for carjacking, especially even in the main cities, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and forget small cities. वहाँ तो है ही है. And he was telling us like little tips like this, like you're saying. The best one that I remember was कि गाड़ी का शीशा keep it 1 centimeter open, चाहे ठंड है चाहे गर्मी है, because that if someone were to actually पत्थर या कुछ उसको शीशा तोड़ के अंदर आने की कोशिश करता है तो शीशा मुश्किल से टूटता है, अगर पूरा बंद हो तो जल्दी टूट जाता है. So I would never have guessed these kind of tips, but you know that is a local kind of a tip that
Yeah.
you'll never get here.
So when I first traveled to US from Infosys, so one of the trainings for us was we used to get this the company issued laptops which we could carry, right? And you have to take that in cabin baggage and so on. So part of the training was that the laptop should never be in the car. If you are leaving the car, it needs to be in the boot, because if it is in the car, then there is a probability no one wants to steal a car, but they want to smash the window and take
Totally,
something precious.
totally. In fact, that reminds me just
No,
now,
in fact,
Abhi, since Ashish was mentioning uh, Rajesh earlier, in London, he got his car jacked like that. As in, he wasn't in there, parked in a fairly safe neighborhood, and लैपटॉप इन प्लेन व्यू probably छोड़ दिया था. 1 घंटे बाद आए, गाड़ी का शीशा टूटा हुआ और लैपटॉप गायब.
So हाँ, in that the training for us was कि कैसे आप अपनी गाड़ी को make it the least interesting for someone on the prowl, कि भाई इसको छोड़ो, अगली देखते हैं. It will
interestingly, I
make
had
it that.
someone visit from Bangalore recently, so he also mentioned. So I mean, we went for to have lunch, and he just asked me, "Can I leave my laptop in the car?" I didn't even think. I said, "Huh, huh." He said, "No, in Bangalore, I wouldn't do that today." So I mean, I was surprised to hear that. He's saying today in Bangalore, I wouldn't leave my laptop in the car. So I don't know if it's true or not, but even this is pretty common, I think, in Bangalore now.
Yeah. So Ashish, we were at Brazil. You were in Sao Paulo, and you spent about a month or two there. Uh,
No, no, I spent 10 weeks, yeah, 2.5 months.
2.5 months there, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
finished your the rest of your Unilever. What happened next? Because you're now in banking, and that was 20 years
No,
ago.
so
How did
actually,
you
again, it was
give
it was
up
a
the
very
glamour of marketing?
no, it was actually very flimsy, if I would say. Now looking back, so there is this thing again, the patience. So I get very, immediately I lose. I mean, if you see till now, mechanical, electrical छोड़ के mechanical लिया, mechanical bore हो गया तो I went into this, ये bore हो गया तो I went to this. So I had never, so even Unilever में after 1 year, in fact, I know it the kind of it's not a light bulb moment. It was a kind of a moment where happened where I was given a feedback, I think, in one of the appraisals कि नहीं, you are not, I think you still need to hone your skills in sales. तुम्हारा sales में it was not good, so you spent 3 months extra in sales. So that was, I think, the first time. Again, you come from a,
इटारसी भेज रहे थे वापस.
नहीं, इटारसी नहीं, आई थिंक वो मैं इनफैक्ट आई वाज इन दिल्ली, आई वाज अटैच्ड टू सम सेल्स मैनेजर एंड इन दिल्ली आई वाज देयर फॉर 3 months. तभी मुझे बोला कि यार नहीं यार, यू विल नीड टू स्पेंड सम मोर टाइम एज अ ट्रेनी, उसके बाद ही वी कैन गिव यू चार्ज. तो आई थिंक इट वाज लाइक सम, मे बी अगेन यू आर नॉट यूज टू, यू आर फ्रॉम IIM, यू फील यू आर एंटाइटल्ड कि यार ये आई नो यू आर फ्रॉम IIM बैंगलोर, यू तुम फॉरेन भेजा गया है, तुम्हें लगता है कि यू आर लाइक गॉड्स गिफ्ट टू यूनिलीवर, एंड यहाँ पे मुझे बोल रहे कि यार ये क्या है,
तीन महीने और करो, तब देखेंगे.
कि somebody telling you कि you are not up to it, you are not fit for it in a way यार. I mean it was like basically feedback saying कि you're not good enough to do this, तुम और करो, right, in straight words. So that kind of like flipped me यार. So and that at that point there was this thing कि CitiBank was looking for people. So I just, it was very very impulsive, I'll be very honest. Again, there was nothing thought, it was very very कि मुझे दिमाग हट गया बोलते हैं ना, कि ऐसे यार भाड़ में जाए यार, कौन इतना इटारसी में जाओ, इसमें जाओ, ये जाओ, वो जाओ, यहाँ पे सिटी बैंक दे रहा है, बैंकिंग में, ट्रेजरी में आई गॉट अ रोल. So I just, यार, I mean I just went again for it. I got selected. The salary was much better then, I remember. I think it was, I think 30-40% more than what was in Unilever. एंड प्लस अगेन इट वॉज इन बॉम्बे. वो घर से भी प्रेशर आ रहा था कि यार अभी शादी कर लो, ये कर लो, वो कर लो, दैट इज द एज वेयर वो सब आ जाता है.
अब इटारसी में रहकर तो नहीं कर पाओगे शादी. So I can understand. So you gave up ICICI Project Finance to go into levers. एंड लीवर यू थॉट मार्केटिंग में कुछ तो वो होगा, और पहले तो उन्होंने इटारसी भेज दिया, एंड देन दे सेड कि अब सेल्स में एक्स्ट्रा टाइम स्पेंड करो, मार्केटिंग अभी दूर है, एंड देन यू सेड चल नहीं यार, मैं वापस फाइनेंस में आ रहा हूँ, एटलीस्ट आई विल बी इन अ मेट्रो. इज दैट राइट? So
That
metro,
is right. I
metro,
think you are
and
very appropriate.
so have you been in banks and finance ever since then, 2001 se?
Ever since then,
Okay.
2001 se I have been. In fact, I remember I joined City on 9/11, 2001. So that is like again,
Wow.
I joined the City Treasury first day, and that evening I see these planes crashing. That was like the Treasury where markets are up and down. I still remember that day very well. 9
Hmm.
September 2001. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. और so you've been, so take us through, walk us through कि क्या किया सिटी से लेके अभी. Where are you working now? In Dubai?
So I am working in this bank called National Bank of Fujairah,
Okay.
NBF,
So आप मेरे
which
को
is
सिटी इन मुंबई से नेशनल बैंक ऑफ फुजेरा इन दुबई की क्या जर्नी है? Just give us a brief overview.
यार आई मीन आई विल बी वेरी ब्रीफ अगेन यार, सो आई डोंट वांट टू अगेन. 2 साल में मैंने ऑलमोस्ट आई थिंक 1.5 घंटा निकाल लिया, तो और 20 साल में तो ऐसे तो फिर और 10 घंटे चले गए, बट इट्स वेरी शॉर्ट. It's been actually a pretty smooth ride if I would say that way. Again, nothing spectacular. तो इट्स नॉट कि मैंने बहुत तीर मारे हैं या ऐसे है, बट सिटी वॉज एक्चुअली गुड. सो आई मीन आई रियली लर्नड अ लॉट इन सिटी. एंड द गुड थिंग अबाउट सिटी इज समथिंग akin to Unilever. They also make you go through the grind. So I remember that nobody that time the city CEO was very clear कि nobody will come in front end facing roles unless you actually do the book entries. तुम बैठ के और ट्रांजैक्शन पास करो, अप्रूव करो, वाउचर अप्रूव करो, तभी वाउचर होते थे. उसके बिना तुम डायरेक्टली फ्रंट एंड. सो फर्स्ट 2 years in fact I spent a lot in payments, like remittances, fund transfers. So uske funde, I mean, there's so much very well stuck in my mind. Aaj bhi I mean, I can just wake up and say nostro, vostro, in, out, all these things, it's very very clear. So I think I really owe a lot to my initial days in city, where and I have been always in transaction banking, cash management, trade finance throughout my life in city. And so I spent about 7 years in city, out of which 2 years were in Chennai. So that is also nice, interesting, akin to Brazil. Chennai was also an experience, going as a bachelor.
I have
Uh,
never heard anyone compare Chennai and Brazil like a similar
no,
zone.
so I
But
mean,
tell us, I'm very intrigued. मुझे बताओ.
no, so again, it was, to be honest, a very pleasant surprise. So I mean, as again, you think, so I was told one day कि यार, I was up for my next promotion. I said, so that I remember that head. So this was a role in corporate banking. So I met that corporate banking head. He said, यार बॉम्बे में कुछ नहीं है और कहीं जाना पड़ेगा. तो मैंने बोला चलो बॉम्बे नहीं तो पुणे दे दो. तो ही सिंह, यार पुणे में भी अभी नहीं आएगा, 6 महीने में आएगा, हो सकता है. तो बट अगर अभी जाना है तो चेन्नई में देर इज़ ओपनिंग. तो अगेन आई हैड स्पेंट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम इन ऑपरेशन. सो ऐसे ठीक है चलो चेन्नई, यार चलो यार अभी क्या. सो आई रियली वेंट थिंकिंग लाइक इट्स दैट वो अंडमान जा रहे हैं ना. I mean, I went with that mindset. वो सजा है काला पानी काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. चलो चेन्नई चले ही जाते हैं यार, सेक्रीफाइस कर लेते हैं. कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ करना पड़ता है, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ फीलिंग की. बट आई मीन एक्चुअली आई हैड सम बेस्ट टाइम इन माई लाइफ इन चेन्नई यार, टू बी ऑनेस्ट. सो एंड
So you
अगेन, सो
said
टिल
Chennai.
नाउ,
Chennai was like Brazil. I was trying to imagine कि चेन्नई में वो MTV grind कैसा होगा.
again I will again. So I again, so till now, if you would have seen the common thread, the
Hmm.
other gender has not been a part of any of my stories. So genuinely I was scared of girls. So it's not कि वो grind, the that part which you are thinking, didn't it, just that visualization I was trying to put you, that MTV grind visualization. It's not कि I was completely mesmerized by that life, or sucked into that life. ऐसे कुछ नहीं था. It was just that visualization. So it was Chennai. So I mean, we really had. I mean, I bought my first car in Chennai. I remember we used to go. We had this good group of friends. We used to hang out. So the first time actually, because again in campus, again campus was also a first time experience where you are on your own, hanging out with others. But this is next level because you are again sharing an apartment with friends. You are completely on your own. कैंपस में स्टिल देयर इज रेस्ट्रिक्शन, राइट यार. फर्स्ट टाइम यार, शाम को ड्राइव चले जाओ, ये करो वो करो. एंड वी हैड अ गुड ग्रुप, एंड आई और जेन्युइनली हैड गुड टाइम इन चेन्नई यार. सो इट्स प्रीटी
So were you
मेमोरेबल
married by that
फ्रॉम
time,
दैट.
Gokhale?
I was not married.
So
So
were you okay with girls by this time? कि अभी भी लड़कियों से
no,
डर लगता था?
yeah, yeah, I mean, dar, yeah, I mean, I was not very, again, dar is a very wrong word. I didn't know ये क्या चीज़ है. I will put it very simply. ये क्या है? I don't know what is the big deal. So
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I could sense. I think even when I now think from the other side perspective, you could even a girl could sense. I think कि this ये बंदा कुछ he's not comfortable. I don't think. I hope they didn't find me creepy. But I just that this guy is not comfortable. I mean ये डरा हुआ सा है, it's like वो शेर कैसे leopard, if you know, शेर जीप के सामने से आराम से चल के जाएगा, but leopard भाग जाएगा. तो मैं ऐसे था. I mean not very comfortable talking to girls or being with girls in general. So yeah, so that was it. So yeah, so I mean in Chennai also there were I mean you in the group there were a few girls. So at least now we have started interacting, going out. ये थोड़ा होने लगा था because CitiBank में there were single girls also. So सब होता था, but yeah, I mean not maybe
Hey, what
like
did you say?
school or college.
Citibank, where they were saying girl also?
Single girls also.
There were single girls also in the
Okay.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know why you am I Freudian slip or Freudian hearing
Freudian,
I'm
slip.
telling you.
Freudian hearing हो रही है आज.
No, no, this is right. We were recording. We can always go back and watch.
So yeah, so that way Chennai was actually pretty memorable, and that is when actually then I also got engaged to my wife when I was in Chennai. And then when I got married, I moved back to my boss was kind enough to move back. In fact, it again that is very ironical, again very interesting because my wife is from Pune. So when we were kind of seeing each other, so I mean we again so as I said, I was very uncomfortable even with her. I used to always I used to stay with a roommate. So he had his girlfriend in Bombay. He used to chat for hours and hours. मुझे पता even Migs, I mean I remember Migs. I mean I'm not giving the details, but he used to chat hours and hours with so मुझे समझ में आता था ये लोग बात
Lily
क्या करते
mixed
हैं.
and didn't end up marrying that girl, so don't give any more details.
No, why? I don't know. I didn't mention anything. I don't know whom he used to chat, but he used to chat hours and hours.
I'll make sure
So
I send this timestamp to his wife.
Yeah, but how do you know कि मैं नहीं बात करता था उस टाइम पे और किससे बात करता था? I have a feeling क्योंकि
exactly.
गोखले का सेकेंड ईयर में here's the other thing, no one had mobile phones back in 98 99 and फर्स्ट ईयर में I had the room जिसमें एक फोन होता था उस पूरे ब्लॉक में और वो मेरे रूम के बाहर था एंड सेकेंड ईयर में गोखले got that room. So I still remember वो phone room was the most prized room, but also sometimes the
Yeah.
most hated room क्योंकि आपको कई बार फोन उठाने होते थे लोगों के. So gossip भी पता चलती थी कौन किसको फोन कर रहा है.
No, so I mean, again, I don't. I mean, Miggs was just maybe he was in front of me, so I picked him up. But I mean, in general, people used to talk for hours and hours, right, with girls, girlfriends, or whatever it is. मुझे तो even when I got engaged, I mean, my conversation with my wife, हाँ, चलो, ठीक है, हाँ, बस. ये क्या खाया, क्या पिया? She used to ask me, अच्छा वहाँ पे
Your
weather.
wife मतलब मेरे को जो लग रहा है what I can smell here, your wife never had a conversation with her parents कि मुझे कुछ तो गड़बड़ लग रही है based on all
No, in fact,
that. You know
she
where I'm
tells me
leading
now
to.
that no. She tells me now कि she was scared कि ये बंदे मुझे इंटरेस्ट है नहीं है, इसका कुछ और अफेयर चल रहा है, उसकी और कोई
अफेयर चल रहा है सोचा था या
ये
कुछ
खुश
मतलब
नहीं
और
है.
कुछ और भी है.
कुछ और.
अभी she's sweet enough to not say that maybe, but ये बंदा कुछ बात ही नहीं. I mean in fact today also I mean I'm awful in conversation on phones. I can't कि वहाँ हवा कैसी है, पानी कैसा है, ये कैसा. I mean for me phone is very transactional. हुआ नहीं हुआ, आ रहे हो जा रहे हो, so I used to always wonder कि अब क्या बात करना है इतनी देर. So in fact the point is we never got into very deep discussions because we were remote. She was in Pune, I was in Chennai. I always kind of assumed that she doesn't want to come to Chennai. So I got जबरदस्ती से posting. So I pushed my boss पीछे पढ़ के I got posted to Bombay after my marriage. And after my marriage my wife tell me, यार मुझे चेन्नई आना था, I just hate Bombay. मुझे बॉम्बे बिल्कुल नहीं आना.
Yeah. No, I
She's
think
saying,
there are some Pune people who feel कि Bombay is not what we
Yeah,
want.
it looks. I mean, in general, I think yeah, if you're from a smaller city, I mean, Pune is not small, but you feel intimidated by Bombay, right? Local train,
Yes,
Bombay की local train में जाना पड़ेगा. You feel
yes.
intimidated. So she just didn't like didn't want to come to Bombay. She was really looking forward to come to Chennai apparently. So and I, after marriage, immediately bring her in my house in Bombay. So yeah, that so sometimes you know, you assume these things about people. So you know, so that was again like something, yeah.
So you got married, you came back to Bombay. How many years did you spend in city?
So I spent 7 years in city.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a
I
long
spent
time.
7 years.
उस time पर
Yeah,
so
yeah.
levers you did 1 year, then 7 8 years in city. All of them in what project? Not project finance. You were doing trade
Transaction banking,
finance,
trade
Transaction.
finance.
transaction
No,
banking,
actually, I
transaction.
was in technology for a couple of years after I moved to Bombay.
Okay,
Not technology, it was, you call in that time, this thing was internet banking, mobile banking was new. So I was in that areas, you know. So it was more
right.
customer technology kind of a thing,
So it was very
digital
much a
technology,
frontier tech. It was frontier tech rather
frontier tech.
than
Yeah,
existing
yeah.
tech. Okay, okay. So
So
city से
again,
then फिर क्या हुआ? Why did you move from city and where did you move?
I think so. I moved to Standard Chartered from City. So after
Okay,
7 years in
same thing. Just a
and
job hop, or was there something
I
big in
think
that move?
yeah, there was no. It was no. I think I regret that move, to be honest. This is something I really
Hmm.
regret in my life, is moving out of city, and I think it was again lack of patience, because you really need in these organizations, like even in Unilever. I think while I mean Unilever, I just moved after 1 year, so I don't know what would have come. You know, it's very difficult
No,
to imagine.
what
I
was
mean,
coming तो हमें पता है इटारसी ही आ रहा था तेरे लिए. That was
नहीं,
probably a
but
good move.
in the long arc you don't know, no. I mean, you always read about these people from Unilever, but I mean, you don't know about so but in city I think I was doing pretty well. I had got promoted, but I think then this 2008 thing happened, you know, remember. So I moved in fact in 2008. Suddenly I got very frustrated, you know, कि कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, promotions were slow, and this is the first time I think I heard of this term called getting laid off. And कभी मैंने, because I saw people around me getting laid off, so this is the first time वो insecurity आने लगी, यू नो. तभी आई रिमेंबर फर्स्ट टाइम इनफैक्ट आई क्रिएटेड एक्सेल शीट कि भाई मेरा नेटवर्थ कितना है, तभी कभी सोचा भी नहीं था मैं. यू नो, आई पुट एन एक्सेल शीट से कि बस मेरे पास इतने पैसे हैं, अगर जॉब जाएगी तो मैं इत करूँगा, यू नो. दिस थिंग्स, दिस इनसिक्योरिटी स्टार्टेड कमिंग इन. दैट 2008 क्रैश रियली, आई थिंक,
Yeah, and
और
city was
तब से
quite badly hit at that time.
city was badly hit, so there were, I know, a lot of friends who were laid off. So that really created insecurity. I think मेरा थोड़ा, so I think it was lack of
And I
patience.
think
So
the
in fact,
exposure 2008, if I recall right, India did not have that exposure in 2008 9. India got hit a few years later, but city was fully exposed to those markets like America,
so
right?
actually city India didn't was not impacted. So but you,
हाँ.
since it was I
But
was
वो
in the
global
global team.
bloodshed तो होता ही है.
Yeah, so you need know people कि यार इसकी ये चली गई है, उसकी जॉब चली गई है, some of your close friends, and that is a, I mean, till then again you're from IIM, you're entitled, you know, ये सब लगता है जॉब भी जा सकती है, तुम्हें निकाल सकता है कोई, you know, this thought
हाँ.
first time comes in your mind from that security and the feeling of end. So that was, I
And
think,
I
a
think part of
shock.
that was also, as I recall, because of our generation, our previous generation, people used to spend. I know so many people, including my dad, who spent like 20 years in a company. Some of them like join a company and retire in the same company. But job hopping wasn't a thing. In our generation, it started, I guess, in the 90s and 2000s is when it started. कि यार आप job change भी कर सकते हो. And I remember the first time I changed my job, my mom actually asked me कि क्यों छोड़ा क्यों. मतलब शी वाज सरप्राइज कि आपने 5 साल में जॉब ही चेंज कर ली. क्यों चेंज करी, मतलब वही समझाने में मेरे को अगले 5 साल लग गए कि वो पिछली वाली जॉब क्यों चेंज करी थी. So it was an alien concept to them, just like a lot of our alien concept जो हमने सीखा था. It's like in today's generation, if you say, and especially abroad, I still, after 25 years, I don't think I have anything, or I can still, this layoffs मेरे को अभी भी थोड़ा सा alien लगता है because of when and where we grew. But the people around me, it's like हाँ एक और चीज है, ठीक है, अच्छा वो वाला चले गया, उससे सेटलमेंट कर लो, कोई बात नहीं, एक और लग जाएगी. It's not forget a shame. It is like just a good thing sometimes. I know of people जिनको लगता है कि यार 6 महीने का मिलेगा, 6 महीने घर पे बैठेंगे फ्री की, पैसे मिलेंगे.
No, yeah, I know of in fact such people. In fact, then I remember a few people I remember in my China office posting ki, oh, I have, so tabhi it was a little alien as you said. But tabhi, I think those people look at it very practically, unemotionally. We take it on ego. यार मुझे कोई निकाल सकता है. It comes down to me, right? कि मुझे निकाल सकता है. So you feel that rather than very practical, unemotional stuff. So yeah, so I mean coming back to City Stand Chart. So in fact, I remember my father telling me that time because I mean he's also from a corporate kind of a life, so he had told me that time कि boss every year is not good. I mean so don't think कि यार तुम in fact he used to tell me कि sometimes I think IIM ने तुम्हारा दिमाग बिगाड़ दिया है. कि you always feel कि तुम्हें हर साल तुम्हें प्रमोशन मिलना है. I mean 2 साल नहीं मिला, 3 साल नहीं मिला तुम यानी इट्स लाइक यू फेल ऑल्सो इट डजेंट मैटर बिकॉज लाइफ बहुत लंबी है 40 साल तुमने
Yeah.
कहा व्हाट आई मीन यू हैव अ करियर ऑफ 40 years इट्स सेम थिंग सो आई थिंक पेशेंस सो दैट thing it's so if you think in terms of philosophically it's that thing of compounding, right? I mean you can't expect great returns if you are investing every year, but you have to wait for that. You have to go keep at it thinking that one year will like be a mega year which will like and overall your arc will be good. So something similar in life, I think you don't real now you see the value of doing something, the process again, being at it, thinking ki
Exactly.
at some stage you
Yeah.
will compound.
Yeah, it's
So again,
compounding.
Stanchart
In
was
venture
just
capital, it's called portfolio. That you keep investing, keep investing, keep investing, and you're waiting for कि 10-20 इन्वेस्टमेंट में से एक एक आपका यूनिकॉर्न बनेगा और
so
that
I
will
mean it's
return
like
every other failure.
most of the portfolio, even if you look at most of the indices, I mean everything is carried by a few top performers, right? If you look at just I think anything,
But
even
the thing is, when
Amazon,
you're
if you look at
investing,
these
you don't know
companies.
who that top performer is going to be, right? And anyone who says कि मेरे को तो पता है कि यही वाले टॉप परफॉर्मर्स होंगे, तो उनको इंडेक्स में नहीं करना चाहिए, वो फिर उसी में डाल दो आप, right? But that's a
Yeah.
completely separate topic. So coming back, StanChart, you were doing a similar job, or did you have a big change in
So
what you were doing
StanChart
at
first
StanChart?
time StanChart it was a change in role in that it was a people. So I had a big team. That was the
Hmm.
first time I had a big team. So in 2008 I had a team of I think 35 people and like
Right.
again from like top B schools and all. So that really attracted me. That it was my first leadership experience, if I may say,
Okay.
So plus across the country, team across the country, and so yeah, that was a big learning from that perspective because I was the business head and leader. I just had no clue how to be a leader, how to be a people manager. So yeah, that was a struggle and a good learning. I mean,
So
I'll
so
put it
that, so
this
so
way.
that's
Yeah.
very exciting. So you graduated from IIM, and within around 8 odd years, despite the Lehman crash and all that, uh, you moved into a leadership position. That's fairly quick. And how many years did you spend in StanChart?
I spent 7 years
7
again. So
years.
my life
Again,
is about
another 7 years
seven.
in
Seven. Yeah.
StanChart and in leadership
Yes.
positions.
Yes.
All of them in India, or did you move around?
All in
Okay.
India.
Okay. And did your
So
roles change?
again,
How did your role
in,
progression? I'm very
in
keen to understand. Did you stick to a particular vertical and then keep growing in that, or did you move around like I
no,
hear
in
people
fact,
in banks do?
no, in fact, I mean, within banking, if you look at my profile, I mean, I don't want to get into the details here, but it is pretty, again, very generalist. I have kind of done a lot of things, and I don't think I've grown. If I look at myself today after 20, how many? 24 years, no? कितने हो गए? 24 years passed out. I think I mean, growth has not been very steep, to be honest. I mean, I'm very good, but I think from an experience perspective, I have covered a lot of area. So I have been a pretty. So I mean, I have. So even in StanChart, I have done the multiple things which people normally will not. People normally maybe look at the way you talk. यहाँ VP फिर SVP फिर MD उसी सेक्शन में तुम एक बच्चा पैदा कर रहे हो तो 10 बच्चे पैदा करो तुम 20 बच्चे the same thing, you're doing the same thing again and again at a bigger scale. So but no, I have done actually very very different things, so which actually I cherish. So I mean I don't regret that at all, that कि मैं क्यों नहीं grow हुआ, क्यों नहीं ये हुआ, because again I think so that actually, as I said, being a business head and all was a good and bad experience both for me, because that's when I realized कि यार I am not cut out for this. That's when you start realizing ki boss, I mean everybody you I mean that's a classical interview answer, right? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Oh, I want to be the CEO of a small organization or a head of a team. But then you realize, yeah, I mean it's not everybody's cup of tea, boss. I mean, it's tough being a leader. It's obviously everybody wants to be a leader, but I think I realized it that nahi boss, ये मेरी नहीं है. I'm not made out to be a leader or a CEO, or I mean, not that anybody was keen to make me, but it's the realization you get. And I think again I go back to my IIM days. I think I remember Shivesh do you remember this guy Shivesh Mishra? I remember he had told me on the first day, in the first day of my ragging, I remember he had told me this statement कि boss, आज तुम एक घोड़े हो, सब घोड़े दौड़ रहे हैं, तुम भी दौड़ोगे, लेकिन एक टर्म के बाद जो दौड़ने वाले आगे चले जाएंगे, तुम में रियलाइज होगा कि तुम आगे नहीं बढ़ने वाले, तुम यही हो, वो तुम्हारी जिंदगी का सबसे अच्छा दिन होगा. सो इट इज़ लाइक you realizing that you are not made up for the top thing, that you are not made up to be DML, then you are happy in IIM. So similarly, I think once that realization came in, boss, I am not made out to be a CEO material or anything, then actually life was very good in my career. So I have actually had a very happy career once that realization comes in, that I'm not hungry for growth. I'm more hungry for experiences. Great. And I think by this time also, I don't know if you have followed my life, but I am very passionate about traveling. So by this time the kida about traveling had started a lot, so I really was focused on work life balance a lot. So I was doing a lot of other things. I was into running. I was learning badminton.
So actually, we are
So
just about
life
to come
actually was
into
very good
that.
in
But
Bombay.
before that, can I ask you one question? So you've by now 8 years in City, 7 years in Stancy. You've got like 15 years post IMB experience in banking. If you were to look back, कि आज की डेट में there is an IMB graduate who wants to get into this sector, right? With your 15 years here, of course, with another 8-10 years after this, but what is the advice you would give to IIM graduates or even other business schools कि यार आपको सिटी में स्टैंड चार्ट में या हजारों अदर बैंक्स हैं उसमें क्या आपको करियर करना चाहिए और क्या सोचना चाहिए?
Yeah, first thing, at least I tell, even I tell, it's not advice I would give. I tell people also, people who want to go into banking, कि boss, banking is neither finance nor marketing. Banking is banking. तुमने अभी तक banking सीखी नहीं है. And if you think in B schools, if you forget the investment banking, I am talking of proper
Yeah,
commercial core banking. तुमने अभी
yeah,
तक बैंकिंग सीखी नहीं है. सो इफ यू थिंक कि यू वांट टू गेट इनटू बैंकिंग बिकॉज यू लाइक फिनेंस, तो बैंकिंग इज नॉट फिनेंस.
नहीं,
If you think you want to get into marketing, banking, thinking you like marketing, banking is not marketing. So so think twice, I will put it this way, कि why you want to get into banking, number one, कि just don't think कि यार मुझे finance अच्छा लगता है. There are very few jobs in banking which you can qualify as hardcore finance. What you learn in B school, you apply that. So that is number one. Number two, I think, yeah, I think in banking, as I said, careers are made over a long term. I mean, you might be in one bank, you might be in multiple banks. The career trajectory is really long, so you have to be in the long haul. It is not like an investment bank or a consulting where there are intense 7 years and it's like a make or break. It is not a steep curve and a fall, or it is a pretty gradual journey. So you have to be patient. You have to be patient. You will have bad years, you will have good years. You have to be patient, which not many people are, fortunately, and or whatever. That's the makeup today, right? You don't these days kids do, or the young graduates, they are not patient, thinking about 20 साल में मैं ये करूँगा वो करूँगा. Whereas I think banking, it requires you to be patient. So these two things, patience and really go with an open mind. Forget you're from IIM, मैंने ये किया है और मैंने वो किया है. I mean you're a very bright kid, you have a good attitude, that is what is required, and be patient.
okay, that's, I think that's some very good advice. So let's move forward. 15 years you've done StanChart and City. How did you reach Dubai?
Yeah,
What was
again,
the journey?
so no, so in fact, very accidental, if I may say so, so very interestingly, because uh, that's what in fact, we think I had never wanted to leave India. I was very, very happy in Mumbai, in my cozy life, very nice. We were not staying with my parents. We were slightly, not very far, about 3 kilometers from my parents' house. Tab tak I had two kids. I was like I think every 3 months I was traveling. I had developed a kida for photography, so I used to go to all these. We had a group where we used to go to these wildlife sanctuaries every 3 months. So it was a very nice life. So, and then I think just accidentally I had never thought Dubai तो मैं कभी life में ने सोचा नहीं था कि I'm going to go to Dubai. So on LinkedIn this mail drops up from this some lady saying कि we are looking for some people in this bank. Can you recommend some people? तो फिर मैंने ऐसे ही फिर मैंने मजाक आई मीन लिटरली आई जस्ट इम्पल्सिवली सेड यार आई मीन नेकी और पूछ पूछ मैं ही हूँ दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग कि
But
recommend some
you know
people.
that's how a lot of headhunters start. Can you
Yeah,
recommend, because they're actually wanting to do it, but they don't want to hurt you, or they're not sure.
they don't want to hurt themselves maybe with a
Yeah,
refusal. Yeah,
that's
so
also true. But
could be.
there's sometimes, especially once you reach a middle or senior, they don't want to be seen as they're trying to poach you.
No, correct. No,
Hmm.
correct. That is true. So, so that is how it happened actually. So then this thing called National Bank of Fujairah. So first thing I asked her ki, where is this? Because then by the time I had researched ki Fujairah is in UAE. It's like a emirate in
Fujairah is one of
UAE.
the Emirates, right?
Yeah,
It's
Fujairah is one of the emirates
one
in
of the
UAE.
seven. Is that right?
Seven
मेरी
emirates.
geography बड़ी weak है, but
So
मुझे इतना
so
पता है कि UAE is seven Emirates.
yeah, so UAE is seven emirates. So Fujairah is one of the emirates, and it is the only emirate which faces the east, that is towards India. It is facing the Arabian Sea in India, whereas all other emirates faced Iran this side.
Okay.
So UAE is like east-west, like a peninsula. So first thing I remember asking her ki yaar where is this Fujairah or Dubai? She said no, it is in Dubai. This is so then I was actually very skeptical. I said चलो देखते हैं यार क्या होता है. I mean let's see kind of thing, जाते हैं देखते हैं. I mean then I went through the process ki in fact I remember I was pushing that lady ki yaar I will come down to Dubai. मेरे expense से मैं आता हूँ एक बार मिलने के लिए. She said नहीं interviews will be online on Skype. No need to come at this stage and all. तो
So
वो
this
I
is
think
nearly 8-9 years ago, when online Skype was not such a big thing as it is right now.
yeah, but they were all on Skype, so they were interviews all on Skype. And one interview, I remember again, one interview, एक महीना कुछ नहीं होगा, second interview, एक महीना कुछ नहीं होगा, third interview. And again, so this is how things work in a weird way. There is something else which started happening in Hong Kong, and here I was, like I mean, obviously in StanChart also I had started getting frustrated, so I was looking out. It's not that I was not looking out. I was applying a lot in Indian banks and all, but कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा था. And suddenly I had this one thing coming from Dubai and one thing coming from Hong Kong. These two started happening parallelly out of nowhere. I mean वो बोलते हैं ना जो कायनात हो तुम्हारे पीछे होती है कि तो सब सारी वो क्या वो डायलॉग जो भी है तो सारी कायनात तुम्हारे पीछे. तो ये हांगकांग से आने लगा, ये दुबई से आने लगा. मैं बोल रहा ये इनफैक्ट देन अनदर जॉब ओपनिंग केम इन दुबई. So all these three things were happening parallelly,
Hmm.
and this went on for 3 months, I remember, yeah. And actually what happened is before this job offer came from Dubai, I had got the offer from Hong Kong. Okay, I had got the offer from Hong Kong also. And so I mean in fact I would have joined I would have taken the Hong Kong offer. I remember I spoke to Gautam Jain, he was in Hong Kong, कि ये salary, expenses, ये वो blah blah. You start your
Hmm.
Excel sheet and all ना कि कितने पैसे बचेंगे, your mentality, right? That's how desis we go, right? कितने पैसे बचेंगे, saving कितना
I
होगा
think that's how
when you go
everyone
in,
goes
right?
ahead, and I'm sure
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
कि दुबई में tax नहीं है. Is that right?
Exactly. So then, but I mean, so the bank in Hong Kong was a much bigger bank, a very big bank, and this bank here I had not even heard of. So I remember, I think it was Kothi. No, I was speaking to Kothi कि क्या करो यार यहाँ पे पैसे तो अच्छे हैं, बट वहाँ पे CV वैल्यू है. तो आई रिमेंबर कोठी टेलिंग मी अरे तुझे 15 साल हो गए, अब 40 की उम्र हो गई, अभी भी CV वैल्यू सोचेगा. ओ
I think that was very strong advice. कि करना क्या है, मतलब CV
yeah.
कितनी देर तक बनाओगे?
Exactly. I remember कभी Encash भी तो करेगा ना यार, अभी भी CV value क्या. तो I remember that he told me. So I said, and by the time then I also got, because I was almost going to join the Hong Kong, I was going to take the Hong Kong offer, but for some reason I think they sent me an email, but they delayed in giving me that offer. Actual letter उनका कुछ formalities में रहे. तो thankfully they delayed and I got this
Okay.
offer तब तक. And there was a big difference here financially, as simple as
And
that, as
did
you said,
distance
tax
from
free and
Mumbai
everything.
play a part in that?
It it matter, but see, Hong Kong is also like 5 hours, right? It's not like it's very
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
So I don't think it played a part in that. Honestly, it was purely. I mean,
Actually,
I can
five
now
and this is
put
what, 3 hours, right? 2 hours, 3 hours,
this is
two
two
and
and
a
a half
half
hours,
hours.
two
So
and a
five
half
or two and a
hours.
half is nearly the same. I can understand. Finally, it takes more time at the airport than in the actual flight.
Yeah, so and it was not that it was not that a factor actually. So it was purely, I mean, see, look, if you look at the tax free, the commercials are way off here. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so plus this is a smaller bank, they would pay well. So in fact, I remember again. So I was very skeptical because this I had not heard of. But by that time, I had spoken to a few people. They said, no, this is a decent bank. So koi baat nahi. So I remember I in fact landed in Dubai to join the bank. Till then, I have never even come to UAE. I land in the airport and straight away go to my office. That was my
Hmm.
landing literally. तब तक मुझे पता नहीं था
And वहां
क्या
पे
है
सब कुछ इंग्लिश
very
में था या
skeptical.
अरेबिक में था, लाइक योर ब्राजील एक्सपीरियंस?
No, no, it is no. Here it in fact it was almost like Mumbai to be honest. You almost
So
felt you're in
your
Mumbai
colleagues, were
when I
there a lot
came
of
here.
Indians there? Hmm.
Very lot of Indians here. So 50% were Indians in fact. And again Pakistani. So you almost feel like Indians. Everybody around was talking in Hindi. So it was very easy in a way, very smooth landing to use the term. And actually, yeah, I mean, I like the organization. To be honest, I was very pleasantly surprised because again, this was after working in big banks till now. I was coming in a relatively very small bank, but I was kind of pretty surprised at how sometimes there is a problem in size. You know, you feel these big banks will be very advanced and all, but I mean, these big organizations are like elephants. So if they move, they will move very with a momentum. But to get them moving, so there were some things which were really archaic even in those banks, which were very advanced in this small bank. I was very like simple things like payment processing. You know, I was so automated even 8 years ago here, whereas in StanChart India I used to submit manual bills. You know, these simple things. You know, I think it in a big organization it takes much more time to change small things, whereas in a smaller organization you have the flexibility to get on with it. So
So
that
Okay.
was
Ashish, you've been like about 7, 8 years in Dubai now. Is that right?
that's right,
Seven,
eight
eight
years now,
years.
8 years.
And you're pretty close to Mumbai, but how does life for an expat from India in Dubai, how does that manage? Because I've never stayed in Dubai. और मैं सुनता हूँ, but you know all these media and everything, it's not always the true picture. So we know tax free. पहले तो मेरे को tax समझाओ यार, मतलब so we pay 45% tax out here, and that is just the direct tax. उसके बाद indirect tax, council, ये वो करके apparently for a certain income level it is like you're paying 60% of your whatever you earn. 100 कमाओगे 40 करोगे, और मेरे को तो देख के ऐसे लगता है कि यार तुम 100 कमाओगे 100 घर लेकर जाओगे, वेरी गुड, राइट? सो पहले तो मेरे को टैक्स समझा, एंड टेल मी द टाइप ऑफ लाइफ दैट यू हैव वर्सेस मुंबई से कंपेयर करके और वेरेवर एल्स.
यार सी टैक्स एक है, देख टैक्स आई मीन जीरो, आई मीन उसमें समझाना क्या है, इट इज जीरो टैक्स, सो आई थिंक इट कांट बी
बिल्कुल नो
दैट.
इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स. अब वीएटी और उस
So,
टाइप का होता
no,
है.
so 2018 they have come out with VAT. So
ओके.
there's 5% VAT. But again, there is an indirect tax. So it maybe it results in cost of consumption is more. So it's consumption driven, right? So that
So
is on the
थोड़ा सा
taxation
वीएटी है
side.
actually I'm let's slightly take the a small tangent. Where does the government get the money for all the infrastructure then? Finally we have learned macroeconomics, my your favorite subject with Shamal Roy. Here you tax and then you build. You tax and you build.
Yeah, so again, I mean, oil, it's a oil economy, obviously.
Hmm.
It's a oil economy. There it's a oil-driven economy. There is tourism is a big driver. Trade is a big driver. So the indirect taxation, the trade which happens here, because so UAE, it's a big trading hub. So everything, the flow of trade from the west, so the east to the China to Africa, there are these trading corridors, and UAE is like the hub where all the trading, invoicing, and the billing happens. So
Right.
most of the companies here are these trading entities who will say buy wheat from Colombia or wheat from Ukraine, or
Hmm.
in the earlier days, and sell to China. So coffee from this country into India.
Okay.
Timber from, so every different
So
kinds of things.
basically the government is earning some type of tax. It's just not income
Direct.
tax.
It's not in
Income tax
direct
free.
income
Yeah.
tax. So it
Okay.
is
Very
very, it
good.
is it is consumption driven. So again, so a big thing in Dubai, you asked me about the life, linking it to your first question, is your lifestyle has a big range. Okay, so you can really save a lot of money,
Mm.
but there is a lot of lifestyle creep which you have to be very careful of, which can, the lifestyle, because the options are so much. You can be
Right.
this, I mean, I have seen, I mean, just a simple incident I remember when I first came into UAE. The first question which came is which car to buy. Now I had people, there were some people who told me, यार यहाँ पे आके तो तेरे को BMW Audi ही खरीद, उसके नीचे तो कोई देखता भी नहीं, so it's like यहाँ पे BMW Audi तो खरीदनी है उसके, you can't even think उसके ऊपर, then you go to range, whatever, Range Rover, ये वो, तो देखो मसराती बहुत ही होगा तो, but minimum तो वो है. Then I had one other guy who was a pretty senior and well off guy, interesting guy, telling me, यार यहाँ पे आके BMW खरीदने का क्या फ़ायदा है,
Hmm.
यहाँ पे आके तुम मित्सुबिशी कोई हुंडई लो और इंडिया में उसी पैसे से तुम BMW खरीदो, उसकी ज़्यादा वैल्यू है. so so there are two ways of looking at the same thing, right? So
No,
I
but
mean,
what
so
I
the
have
point.
realized, Ashish, is that humans live relative lives. Relative lives meaning, like, most people will choose to drive a Hyundai if their neighbors and their friends are driving a Hyundai. But if your neighbors and friends are driving a BMW, then you want to drive a car in that class also. And I think इसीलिए एक इंडिया के एक छोटे से विलेज में where average income might be only $200 a month, people are happy because सबकी $200 a month income है. But अगर तुम उसमें से 10% of people, if you make them rich, then people get unhappy. So people, happiness is a relative consumption.
Yeah, yeah. So that is a very philosophical point. I mean, we can talk a lot about happiness, and this point which you're making, a very deep point. You're absolutely right. And this is, as I said, is more apparent here because the range of lifestyle which you can have here, I don't think I have seen in any other country. I mean,
और मैंने
again,
तो सुना है,
I'm.
मतलब ये टिकटॉक और इस टाइप से फॉरवर्ड्स में देखा है कि दुबई की तो पुलिस के पास भी लैम्बोर्गिनी है.
हाँ है ना, Lamborghini है, yeah.
हम्म.
I have seen Lamborghinis. It's very
So,
pretty
so does that
Ferrari,
mean कि मतलब
Lamborghini.
सबके पास फैंसी कार्स नहीं है? Because that's what you see कि अगर पुलिस के पास भी है, कि पुलिस usually have the worst cars in most countries.
So I mean, look, I mean, that is, so the point is, it's very difficult to judge what is behind the scenes from the facade. I mean, if you get my, by looking at, I think in more or less other countries, based on where a person lives, what car, you can relate कि वो इतना कमाता होगा, उसका ये profile है, whereas in Dubai, you can have somebody who's really steep neck deep in debt and living a fancy lifestyle. Like, I mean, I remember एक बार we had a cleaner in our office. So he was a cleaner, and he was retiring. And while retiring, then he told us actually that he has a big villa in Kerala. He has built a big villa in Kerala. He's carrying gold. यहाँ से खरीद के. But here he was just a cleaner. So he is living, whereas there are other people who are equal. I mean, again, this also I have seen a lot of difference in the nationalities. So like in Indians who come here, they are more on the saving and sending back home.
But
Especially at
is
the.
that more on the Kerala labor, and I think अब थोड़ा सा Bihar
No,
and all that is also coming in. Is that
no,
more
there is
blue collar or is it also white collar?
in general. So when you talk of labor, labor is obviously more blue collar.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of white collar also. So the Indians are, there are a lot of rich Indian businessmen also in Dubai.
Hmm.
Okay, so a lot of rich Indian businessmen, wealthy Indian businessmen. But coming to that point about lifestyle creep, so it also, so I mean, for example, I mean, Filipinos, for example, I see a lot of Filipinos who will be working maybe in a store or as maids, but if you see their dress, and they will all have iPhones, the way they are dressed, and also they will be like, I'm sure, spending most of their money and not more in, so very consumption and very driven, whereas Indians by psychology are very savings and very frugal and very again, difficult to make
Yeah.
generalizations, but in general
But I
very
think that's what
frugal and
Vix was
saving.
saying कि I think that helps, right? कि अगर अगर तुम्हारे बाकी चार और इंडियन फ्रेंड्स भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, then it's easy for you to take that decision. But if you're Filipino and बाकी चार और फ्रेंड्स तो definitely कर रहे हैं, then you're like, यार मेरे को ये तो करना है वरना तो मैं outcast हो जाऊंगा.
And the other very interesting
Could
thing
be.
I've noticed in California is if you go to Hollywood, you will find the same thing, people in debt living in mansions and driving fancy cars. But if you come to Silicon Valley, you'll find कि, literally, I'm sharing an experience back from 2007. I wanted to rent a place to live. So somebody gave me, Kacha, he's a landlord, you go meet with him, you can rent from him. I went and met with him and I thought, यार, he must be कोई homeless बंदा है या कोई cleaner होगा यहाँ का. And then I realized the guy owns 12 homes in Palo Alto, each one of them around $5 million. But he was still carrying the garbage can outside by himself. So Silicon Valley has a lot of that. The whole culture is very subdued. Like the cars are subdued, the clothes people wear are subdued, and that's just the culture. Like you actually, uh, and then back in 2009, once I went to Miami, and I got invited to this lawyer's home for dinner. And I was sitting there. उसकी wife की भी boot job है. उसकी sister-in-law थी. She also was well endowed. And I thought, ki, what is happening? And then later I asked him that, I didn't ask him, I asked someone else. And they said, well, that's the culture of Miami. Everyone is well endowed here. So I think,
some are natural, some are
Yeah.
fake.
yeah. So when I go to different cities, you can feel that this city is like that's the way of living in that city. People are all the same, but that's the way of living. Like so, and I think we get to choose कि हम लोग which community we want to live in. Like, do you want to live in a LA lifestyle, Miami lifestyle, Silicon Valley lifestyle, Dubai lifestyle?
Yeah, but even,
So
even
how?
in Dubai, it's like what I've seen. I've met quite a few people. Even when I traveled last, I met with Ashish and Mukesh and so on. But काफी फर्क है मतलब even within Dubai you can, as you mentioned, you can have very different types of lifestyles.
I understand that, but I think कि आशीष का जो सर्कल होगा ना, आशीष की जो वो जिससे सोशल सर्कल में हैंग आउट करता है, जिनसे मिक्स करता है, जिनके संग वर्क करता है, I'm sure they all have a similar lifestyle.
No, that is the point I'm making.
Even
So
in
within
that
the same
circle,
circle, your
अच्छा,
options are huge. I mean, I have friend who owns a Maserati.
hmm,
I own a Nissan Altima, so
hmm,
that's a choice I have made कि
yeah,
मुझे फर्क नहीं. So again, but now I get his point also. Like चला यार यहाँ पे नहीं आके चलाऊंगा तो कहाँ चलाऊंगा यार.
hmm,
So
hmm,
so again, where you stay, I have friends who own a villa, huge villa. तो सेम लॉजिक यार, बॉम्बे में थोड़ी या इंडिया में थोड़ी ना विला में रहने को मिलेगा, यहाँ पे विला में रहने को मिल रहा है, इन बिग विला, विल स्टे इन अ विला. सो विच स्कूल योर किड्स गो टू, देयर इज अगेन अ रेंज ऑफ ऑप्शंस. आई मीन माय किड्स गो टू अ इंडियन स्कूल बिकॉज दे केम when my elder daughter was already in a school in India. She came here, so we wanted to continue that. And I mean, most of my friends in my circle, they are all going to British schools. Because so again, there is a huge range. So
okay,
how you want to be, you want to be with more the white people,
hmm,
European, you want to be in that circle, you can be
hmm,
there. You want to be more with desi, go in a
hmm,
desi restaurant, stay in an area which is full of desis.
hmm,
There are people who feel comfortable that way. So there is a huge range of all these things, and you have to be very careful of that. So I mean, since you're coming to the Dubai point, it can suck you into this very without you realizing. You have to be very careful of that. Because of the tax-free income, your aspirations, that lifestyle. I have seen so many cases, lifestyle creep, you don't
hmm,
even realize. And the thing about Dubai which you have to realize is, whatever, now they have come with liberal visa options and all this. I have a 10-year visa now, I can be here without a job, all, but still you can never be a Emirati. You will never get a passport. I mean, very
okay,
very very strict cases. Unlike say in the US or UK, you can be an American, right? If you're not already are, you will be an American at some day. 5 years,
yes,
10 years, 15 years, 20 years,
yes.
that is a journey, right?
And I
Whereas
think
here,
America actually makes it much more easier than most of the countries in the world.
correct.
Yeah,
So here then you have to be very careful, because you are getting sucked into this life. You're thinking कि हाँ मैं यहाँ हूँ. It's easy to get sucked into that bubble without, and then I see a lot of these cases where then they find very difficult going back home. Because again, see, my boss was a Brit, so my boss was a Brit, so he used to put it very interestingly. He used to saying Dubai is like, if you put it in a way, it's the best of both worlds and the worst of both worlds. So like, for example, he's saying now when his kids go back to UK, they find it very difficult to even adjust in UK. कपड़े खुद इस्त्री करने पड़ते हैं. यहाँ पे you have the best, you have the world class infrastructure, plus you have all the maids, all the services, you have a cleaner who comes home, I have a laundryman who takes him. So you have the best and worst of both worlds. Whereas
तो वो आपको
now, so kids,
इंडिया वाले क्लीनर मेड है,
सब
और
कुछ,
आपको वो
everything, सब कुछ है.
लंदन और सैन फ्रांसिस्को वाला roads and
infrastructure.
cars and
Hmm.
everything here.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that is good and bad both. So he said his wife, he's now in UK. So he said that kids are really finding it difficult to
Uh,
cope up in UK because I mean whatever it is, they are it will because Dubai infrastructure is amazing. I mean the metro, the roads, and the meticulousness. Even in UK, these kids find it difficult to struggling to cope up with that. So
hmm.
it's like a bubble in a way. So you have to be very careful and you have to be very cognizant of that
So if
because
people don't get
एक
the
दिन
Emirati passport, so does that mean that when you stop working, most people go back when they retire?
no, so now there are a lot of actually this used to happen earlier, but now there are a lot of avenues of like there's a retirement visa. There are
Okay,
people they are making it easier for people to retire here.
okay,
So there are these generations and generations of family who are living here.
okay,
They don't have a passport, so they are an Indian passport. They have a business, so you will get a visa. There are
okay,
multiple ways of doing that.
But
okay.
everything is visa. You'll never be have the passport. Right,
Yep,
right.
yep.
In fact, मैंने अभी recently सुना है there's like a golden visa for parents that you can call क्योंकि यहाँ पे
So I
UK
have a
में तो
golden
that is near
visa.
impossible.
No, I have a golden visa. Golden visa is a 10-year visa,
Okay. But you
which
can
is
call
without so
parents
your
and the parents can easily come and settle there and all that.
I can sponsor my parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I think
Ashish,
in
you
next
mentioned this word lifestyle creep a few times. Can you articulate exactly क्या है?
Your
I kind of
lifestyle
understand it, but would be good to.
Your lifestyle creep again at a very broad term is you getting upgraded in you're upgrading your lifestyle without realizing it. That I mean, I'll give an example now. Maybe 5 years back, यार मैं कभी in India, I mean, train travel by default. If I travel, I will think of a sleeper or a third AC. Okay, if I am traveling by train, that was a default option. Today when I go back यार अभी first I struggle if a train doesn't have a first AC. मैं सोचता हूँ 2 बार कि जाना है कि नहीं. Now this is a creep, right? Without, subconsciously, without even realizing this has happened. So it's not that consciously I have done that. So I just got have upgraded, you know. And somewhere when you plan for your future, for your retirement, you have to be very careful. I mean, today I am used to driving a particular car. 5 years back, maybe that was not the default model. I don't know if I'm putting it right, but it's basically this lifestyle creeping out without you consciously realizing. I mean, again, if I want to do that and I'm enjoying it, so be it. But if the moment it's becoming a hygiene factor,
Got
these
it.
things are
Hmm.
becoming a hygiene factor without me even realizing it, then that's a lifestyle creep. Then I am, increasing my baseline, if I may put it this way.
So
Hmm.
Ashish, what does your day-to-day work life look like right now? You graduated 24 years ago. You've had marketing job, finance jobs at Citibank, and now you're at this bank. Like, are you, what does your look like? Are you making strategic decisions? Are you looking at
So
operational efficiency?
So I am actually in this now area of sustainability. So I
Okay.
am in the area of sustainability and sustainable finance. Don't ask me. I mean, again, no particular reason I got into it. Just
Hmm.
a year and a half back, I was asked, and I came into it without even knowing what it is about. And I've learned a lot as I go along. So it is a kind of a strategic change management role, where I am kind of working with the CEO and the management to embed sustainability into the whole bank. So it's like a strategic role if I can put it right across. It's not a operational efficiency or anything. It's a strategic change management role.
Okay. And so make it more real for me. Like, are you saying that, like, give me an example. Like, are you funding a forest where to harvest timber from the forest? Like, make it more real. Are you funding electronic vehicles or by funding,
So
like, make it real for me?
So it is in a sense like exactly my job is to make it real for the bank. So I mean, okay, put it in a
Okay.
way how it happened. So I was just the mandate given to me was, yeah, Ashish, this sustainability is a thing now coming on. A lot of questions are being asked by outside stakeholders, key banks. So what is in different ways,
Mm,
rating agencies about what is your
mm,
sustainability record.
mm,
So
mm,
exactly the way you're putting out, make it real. भाई करना क्या है basically.
mm.
कुछ
Okay.
तो करना है,
Okay.
एवरीबडी नोस कि भाई कुछ तो करना
Okay.
है, बट करना क्या है, मेक
Okay.
इट रियल. सो नाउ मेक इट रियल इज now it's multiple things. So it starts, so
Mm,
again this is something which is impacts. It's not only what you're saying is sustainable finance. So how do you divert the capital of the bank towards activities which drive or which are more positive to the climate. Like if you're saying
Mm-hmm.
fund a electric power plant or solar
Mm-hmm.
power plant or fund a renewable
Mm-hmm.
energy company. So that is the
Mm-hmm.
sustainable finance area. Then it's also
Mm-hmm.
about the corporate, that is baselining our sustain, like reporting. Like
Mm-hmm.
earlier when you used to talk of sustainability, it was more कि बहने कि यार yeah, I have done some community activities there or here, or something, CSR. It was mainly CSR. So
Mm-hmm.
it is not only CSR, it is all about, it's all about baselining our data points, like what are my emissions, what is my emission intensity, measuring them, keeping and about even social aspects, my governor, how many, what is the diversity, how many nationalities I have, what is the number of women in my senior middle management, and reporting it and systematically tracking it over periods.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is this only about your bank, or also about the customers and every business? I mean, which what's it called? Level one, grade one, two, three. This that
no, so
right?
the emissions, okay, I mean, I think you're talking of emissions. So when you talk of
Yeah.
emissions of an entity, the protocol, the GHG protocol, that is
Hmm.
greenhouse gas emission protocol, which is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
standard, it talks of three types of emissions: scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3.
Hmm.
So scope 1 emission is the emissions which are caused by the entity in its own business. For example, in a bank, I am burning petrol and diesel in my generators. That is the emission which is caused in my premises, in my operations. So that is my scope 1. A
Right.
steel plant is having a furnace. It is burning coal in the furnace. So that is emission which is caused in the premises. That is scope 1 emission of an
Hmm.
entity. Scope 2 emission is emissions caused on account of things I purchase. So for me, for example, I am purchasing power. Now the emissions on account of power are not caused in my premises, but are caused by the power generating company because I'm purchasing power
Hmm.
from them. So the emissions based on the electricity I purchase are scope 2 emissions, and scope 3 emissions are emissions in my value chain. So supply chain. So I might be having suppliers, I might be having buyers, I might be procuring things from them. So for a bank, the customers whom I finance,
Yeah.
so their emissions on account of what I finance is my scope 3 emissions.
So
So
this
there are
scope one,
multiple
two,
levels.
three, is that only for emissions, or do you see other ESG? Do you track that on scope one and two and
No,
three
scope 1, 2,
principles?
3 is emissions. It's an
Only
emission
emissions and
standard.
only
Yeah.
carbon, or do emissions go beyond
No,
carbon?
no. So I mean, again, taking a step back, emissions. Again, I mean, again, just giving a very dummy 2 minutes of climate science. Now, what
Huh.
is in terms of climate change? What is happening is greenhouse gases are something. If you know your basic science, it envelops the Earth. There is a layer of greenhouse gases which envelops the Earth, and greenhouse gases, they prevent sun's heat from going escaping back out of Earth's atmosphere. When the sun's heat falls, greenhouse gas trap that heat onto the Earth, and that is the reason why there is life on Earth. Because if there were no greenhouse gases, Earth would be a very cold place and life wouldn't sustain. So that is so greenhouse gases are not bad. But what is happening since the industrial revolution, mainly when the cars and factories have started coming, the amount of greenhouse gases emitted by human generated activities has started increasing. So what happens is, because there are more and more greenhouse gases, there is more and more heat getting trapped into the Earth's atmosphere, because of which the surface temperature of the Earth is rising. So if you see the temperature of the Earth's surface, say from over the 100 years, you can see a upward sloping graph, and especially after 1940s, this graph has started going up, because it's akin to the post-World War industrial revolution phenomenon, where factories, cars, etc. came up. Earth's surface temperature has been going rises. So greenhouse gases there are broadly three, four types of greenhouse gases very quickly. One most common is carbon dioxide. It is loosely called as carbon. Again, 80% because of what we breathe,
Hmm.
the fuels we burn, you emit carbon dioxide. It is 80% of the greenhouse gases. There is methane, which is about 10 to 12% of greenhouse gas emissions are methane. Methane comes again from fossil fuels, but it also comes from
Garbage
agriculture.
dumps.
It comes
Garbage dumps
from
have a lot of
yeah,
methane, right?
landfills, your animal processing. That's why meat, etc., has got to do a lot with methane thing. Then there are other greenhouse gases like HFCs, which are mainly aerosols, air conditioning, refrigeration. and there are a lot of other things. Now the point again is, one thing to remember is carbon dioxide may be 80% of all the greenhouse gases, and methane and other may be less, but in terms of potency the others are far more potent. I mean, when you talk of potency, you talk of the ability to measure 1 unit of greenhouse gas and the impact it has on the temperature rise. So just loosely saying, if the potency of methane I think is about 500 to 600 times of carbon, potency of HFC maybe 1000, 1500, or maybe even some greenhouse gases can be 5000 times as
Right.
more as potent.
So why do you
So
think? I'm just sorry. Why is the world going after carbon credits? Why not after methane credits?
no,
Why not after
so it
something
is more
else?
again a accounting thing. It is not about carbon credits or anything. So again, in a very loosely, very crude way, I will say, if you have multiple currencies, I have a pound, I have a dollar, I have a rupee, their potencies, I mean, when you say value, the potency of greenhouse gases is different. I may have $1 but 50 rupees, but the potency of that dollar is more than rupee. So if I have to
Right.
talk about my net worth, I have to equate everything to one baseline, right? So similarly, if I am emitting greenhouse gases, I can't say I am emitting this much of carbon dioxide, this much of methane, this. There are 20 types of greenhouse gases. So everything is baselined to carbon. So it is not that when you say I am emitting so much of carbon, A, it is not carbon, it is carbon dioxide.
Right.
So entity is emitting 2 tons of carbon dioxide doesn't mean it is only emitting tons of carbon dioxide. It is something loosely saying my net worth is so and so dollars, $100 million or whatever. It doesn't mean you only have dollars. You have other currencies.
Yeah, I
So
think
when
that's
you
a
talk
very
of,
good
yeah.
explanation for people who don't know why it's always talked about in carbon credits. Can I just on this just go one step forward? And you're in Dubai, you've had COP 28 and all that. Now, one thing I heard is even from the last COP 27 in Egypt and now in Dubai, is they're starting to think about correcting climate rather than just reducing the effects of the harmful effects. Uh, and you're in banking, and is there a role for finance and banking in helping the world uh, reduce or even account for uh, whether it's carbon credits or 100 other parameters? And what is that role if there is?
Look, I mean, carbon credits and all is again a very specific instrument. I will talk at a very broad level.
Right.
Okay, now,
But
I
are
mean,
there
just
other
to
instruments? How does banking play a role in that?
no, so I will again, as I said, I know very forget instruments, etc. What is so if you just take a step back, COP, what is COP? In a very simple terms, COP is a conference of parties. It is basically all countries meeting every year to take a stock on what is happening, what was we agreed, what did we do, what we did not do. It's a global stock take of countries,
Hmm.
nothing more than that. So I think it was in Paris 2015. You will hear this term Paris Agreement. You know,
Yeah.
in a lot of things,
Yes.
Paris
Paris
Agreement.
Accord. Yeah.
So in 2015 in Paris, which was COP 21, there was, I mean, I mentioned about the temperature rise. So there was an agreement that we have to limit this temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. Okay, 1.5 degrees to the. So how this 1.5 degrees is done is they take the temperature which existed, average temperature in the 1940 as a zero baseline, and you are measuring the rise from that. So you want to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 degree to 2 degrees and well below 1.5 degrees. That was the agreement. And the second most pivotal point in that COP was that the recognition that if you have to drive this change, government money is not going to be enough. You need to have private money coming into this to drive this change. And who are the custodians who drive private money, who hold private money, is the financial institutions, insurance. It's not only banking, it's insurance. In fact, before banking, this has come into investments.
Hmm.
So investments, insurance, banking, they have a big role to play to channelize this private capital into areas which fight climate change. So
Right.
that is where this whole thing about sustainable finance. So banks, yeah, so again, if you come, since Vikas told me to make it more clear and more specific, I will maybe banks now, for example, one very simple thing is to fund businesses which fight climate change. That is a simple thing you can think of, you know. that I will fund a solar plant, I will fund this, I will fund a electric vehicle manufacturing. As I mean, assuming it is green, there is a debate on that. That's a separate thing. But I will fund things which are green or which fight climate change. The other important thing also, which is not so much seen, this is the very easy, glamorous part, if I may say, of green finance. The other part is also embedding sustainability issues into my regular lending. So even if I am lending to a company which may not be anything to do with green, but the moment I start asking him 10 questions, ki, do you have a sustainability report? What is your this policy? Do you have environmental policy? Hopefully it will trigger some action from their end. Because as a bank, I am lending him, I have some influence on that person. And if I start asking, if 10 banks start asking him that question, it will promote some action. So that is also a role as an important influencer in channelizing capital, that you can drive this change. So if you see
But
now in
don't you
most of
think
the
that is
banks,
the type of thing that leads to behaviors like what greenwashing and just people trying to say कि हम ये भी कर रहे हैं वो भी कर रहे हैं, but actually the core of the business is nothing related.
yeah, look, I mean, I mean, you can have the glass half full or glass half empty, that kind of thing. So just because there are people doing greenwashing doesn't mean everybody. And I am again, I am of the view here that even as regulators, you need to be a little liberal. So again, greenwashing. So in fact, these days, I don't know if you are hearing, there's a big reverse. There's a term called green hushing. There is a concern that now, because this greenwashing thing is going so far, that now businesses are genuinely scared of even telling anything that they are doing green.
Okay.
There's a big fear that businesses don't. There's a green hushing is now a concern. That again, so when you talk of greenwashing, there is intent and malice. Now, if somebody is doing purely out of malice, then okay, fine, you punish him, fine him. But genuinely, there is so much of confusion in this, that what is green, what is not green. I mean, I do something and I say it's green without any malice. I think it should be okay.
Yeah, it should be okay,
If
but
it's
I'll
causing the
give you my
whole,
example. The non-malice part, of course, the malice part is very clear. Uh, the non-malice part is every second startup, and it's starting to be like 90%, but at 50% on average, startups I see, which have nothing to do with climate, nothing to do with everything. They spend half of their 20-minute pitch that they tell me in the first meeting about how they are meeting UN SDGs, how they are meeting these COP goals, climate change goals, and all that. And I'm like, यार अपने प्रोडक्ट के बारे में बात करो यार, कस्टमर क्या है, प्रोडक्ट मार्केट फिट मेरे को बताओ, मेरे को नहीं सुनना कि तुम बाकी क्या कर रहे हो, all that. मतलब you're not going to get funding for that. As in, if I were to give funding for that, I will make sure, which I already have, is कि वो डायरेक्ट क्लाइमेट इफेक्ट, सस्टेनेबल फूड, सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर, मैं उस सेक्टर में इन्वेस्ट करूंगा. बट तुम मेरे को एक नी इम्प्लांट दिखा रहे हो और तुम मेरे को आधा प्रेजेंटेशन सस्टेनेबिलिटी पे क्यों दे रहे हो? आई मीन तुम ये बताओ कि मतलब कि एक 60 साल का जिसकी नी खराब हो गई है उसकी लाइफ कैसे बेटर होगी. दैट इज योर improvement of the world. But yeah,
no, you're right. I mean, yeah. No, I mean, it is like, I guess they are
yes,
riding the wave. So it's a wave and everybody wants to ride the wave. Like 5 years back, even a shared database was blockchain. If somebody is doing a shared database, everybody will say they are doing powered
yes,
by blockchain.
yes.
वो नीचे होता था. एक तो डोमेन नेम डॉट ए आई लिखो, आजकल तो फैशन हो गया, कुछ भी करो डॉट ए आई लिखो. तो इट इज समथिंग, मैक्रो को
और
भी
हर चीज
आर्टिफिशियल
का
इंटेलिजेंस
डोमेन
बोलते
नेम
हैं
से
लोग.
याद
So it
आया,
is
हर
just
चीज का
okay.
डोमेन नेम डॉट AI is about 10 times the .com domain names. पता नहीं क्यों, जबकि सबसे
Yeah.
ज्यादा अवेलेबल
So
तो वही वाले हैं. So yeah, someone's making a
Basically,
killing there.
yeah, you're basically it's the in thing, so you want to be seen that way.
Hmm.
So Ashish, tell us something about a project
I,
that you have done. So you've been doing it for 2 years. So we understand the framework now. You've explained to us COP and methane and carbon and all that. But tell us something that you've done in your like.
no, so that I was again, I'm saying, so on a day-to-day basis now my role has multiple things. So like I said, one is corporate. So now getting the reporting in place. I think I mean what I'm saying is very easy, but to even put these systems in place to be
Oh
able to
yes.
track
No,
this. You
it's
need
not
to
easy in
which
a
branch
yeah
is
yeah yeah.
consuming what power, which branch is consuming what power. Now, because again, remember now this is a board level topic, so I have to now report to the board these KPIs. So the ability to track this enterprise wide
It's very hard.
KPIs, manage
Yes.
them, report them, see what is moving, see not what. That is one. So whole thing about corporate sustainability. The other part is what Manish was saying is embedding it into my financing decisions. So with the kind of looking at which are the customers who are high risk on sustainability, where do we need to do more due diligence. So I need to figure out, my CEO will ask me, okay, do this or this, and there are so many, this area is evolving so fast that every time there is some new. Now next year we are having the IFRS standards coming into this. Now even now today there is a linkage between your financial statements and sustainability statements from next year, that it will have impact on capital. Now I am supposed to look at my portfolio to look at which are the industries which are prone to climate risk, and do some sensitivity analysis and now put a capital charge to that. So all these things are happening. So there are multiple areas which, it's one, your corporate thing, your financial thing, your risk profile. So that is why I said it's something which encompasses the whole organization. There's awareness is a big. So if I am working a lot with HR, because there's a whole, like what I am telling you guys, people are not even aware of this. What is carbon? What can I do in my role? So uplifting the whole organization to a
Sure.
particular level on
Sure.
sustainability, that is a large
Okay,
part
Ashish,
of my role.
tell us one
So
spicy
yeah.
story. Tell us one spicy story that has happened in the last 24 years that will make us all think, "Arey, wow, this happened." And that can even be your Brazilian
Spicy
hug that
story.
might have led to something.
So I think I told you the spicy stories, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
what
not
is more
spicy.
spicier to you? I told you about
Then,
the MTA
Ashish, I'm sure
grind.
you have more spicy stories hidden in
I
your back pocket.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
reveal us something about mix that
remember,
we don't
I
know.
really
Ashish, remember the Scotland trip is out of
okay.
bounds here.
I will. I, no, forget Scotland. I think I will tell you spicy. Okay, I'll tell you. I mean, this is an IIMB again. This was the first time I got introduced to the chatting. I don't know if you guys remember. There used to be this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
chatting in our computer
We
center.
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
People used
remember
to
chatting
chat
and Ashish
and
were
pick time.
synonymous, by
Everybody
the
wants
way.
to.
It was the IRC chat. But yes, you go on.
I don't know if I was synonymous or not. I don't remember, but I remember something. I think I was chatting to this. I mean, this obviously then this is something new. Then ASL, please. You will start with all that stuff. Then somebody will say. Then typically I got chatting to this girl. I think I forgot from F20 whatever Bangalore or something. She started, and then remember this. So it used to be typical. So I think it went on for a week or 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't know. It went on for a week or 2 weeks. Oh, yes. Then I think she said, okay, let's meet up. This,
Yeah,
that. Okay, how do you
yeah,
look? Can you send your
yeah.
picture? And all. It went into all this kind of stuff. And then one day, I think I don't know. I realized it was some guy from our batch was faking it. Yeah.
Means it was you making it.
Thankfully, no, it was not. No, it was not
So there
James.
were
I
two.
know the guy. I
There were
will
two
not name
people.
that
I don't
person.
know whether we are
Yeah.
talking about the same incident, but uh, yeah, on one chat, I remember that me and one other person who I don't think I should name, uh, we actually F22 or F18. I don't remember that either. But I think on the Richmond Road or one of those roads, uh, Ashish was called to meet, and then
And did Ashish go?
he definitely did. And unfortunately, those were the
No,
days. We didn't have
no.
everyone didn't have mobile phones with cameras and all that. Otherwise, we absolutely wanted to make sure that that is captured in time. So
By the way, for all the viewers, Ashish is saying he did not go, and
No.
and looking at his face and the way he's shaking his head, I can say he went.
No, I would have said, yeah, if I mean, I have said so much, itna kya hai isme? What is if I don't know. I don't think I went before that. Only for some reason, it was not Migs who was faking it. It was somebody else, some other person. I mean, so he was faking it all, and yeah. So that is, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
mixed. We
completely.
have to call that other person and ask him if he still has the chat
No,
transcript.
I
It would be
don't
I
great to
think.
read the
There's
chat
one
transcript.
thing I think you can use your Sigma credentials. Maybe go back
Yes,
into
I
history
can
and
still
Yeah,
look up
try
some
and
of
find the
those.
chat transcript. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
Sigma.
the
I
thing with
remember. Yeah.
computers is everything is logged in some way. You just have to find the right place.
So
So,
that was my that was my first experience. I came close to meeting some, somebody of the other sex, and it was like a complete thud. And after that, I got really scared. You can see.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I remember the first question used to be A/S/S/L.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
ASL, please.
What
yes.
you
Everybody, look,
remember all that? तो तू भी था उसमें क्या?
सब
ये
थे.
सब करता था रात रात के. I know there were like 5 or 6 people जो रात को
रात को कंप्यूटर साइंस
2,
लैब
3,
में
4 o'clock वो बेसिकली वो चैट पे लगे रहते थे. एंड द रीजन आई नो, क्योंकि चैट वाले अलग रूम पे रहते थे एंड देयर वर अ फ्यू ऑफ अस. वो रात रात नाइट आउट्स मार के एज ऑफ एम्पायर्स खेल रहे होते थे.
Yeah, yeah. नहीं,
Right? So
और
we knew that the Age of Empires guys knew who were the IRC chatters, and the chatters probably knew कि ये लोग ये Age of Empires वाले लोग हैं.
It was very interesting. Our computer drome, or like the computers, all were in the basement. Like it was very nice architecture. I loved the architecture, and I loved the vibe. It was very sublime. Like no windows,
and
nothing.
and there were people who used to look at all 18 plus sites also. So you are missing that point. वो भी तो था dim all the way. I mean all that you could make out if somebody has computer ऐसे करके देख बैठा है कोने में उसकी window dim है. You can make out क्या है.
But the thing is, so those were the days type of thing where it was like just not very common. आज की डेट में हर बंदे के पास पूरा access है all these sites, and you can just click your phone. No one needs to know. You don't have to go to a computer center. In fact, even today, all IIMs, I think, everyone has laptops and stuff.
And Ethernet in the
People who don't realize that this wasn't that old. This was just 20, 25 years ago.
yes.
That the current
Yes.
IIM students were born around that time probably. So it wasn't that old. It was around the time they were born. That no one had mobile phones, at least not in India. It was starting in other parts of the world.
अच्छा अच्छा आशीष तू इतनी philosophical बात मत कर. I'm very interested in the ASL part of the story. So Ashish, what made you not go to Richmond Road? Because Miglani, who I trust him,
No, I
he's saying
think
you went to Richmond Road.
no, I didn't go to Richmond. I don't even remember Richmond Road and all. No, I think before that
I don't
only
remember
for
whether it
some
was
reason.
Richmond Road. वो कौन सा एक और रोड था वो
No,
डायगोनल वाला जो MG रोड से रिचमंड रोड को कनेक्ट करता था.
ब्रिगेड रोड.
Brigade Road, yes.
Brigade Road, yeah.
तो मिक्स ये गया था ना,
no,
you went
and
there, right?
For all that I know कि गया था, पता नहीं
यार
मेरे को यार. See, the
बस
thing is,
मैं
And
अब बोल रहा है तो
our campus used to have a free bus every evening that used to take us to Brigade Road.
MG Road, yeah, correct.
yeah.
But yeah, you have to come back on your own. So I was very cheap. I will never spend $100 to come by rickshaw from MG Road to our IIMB in the night. I am confident of that.
No, there were
So
buses. I've taken buses many times from MG Road to Banurgheta Road.
no, but I think what happened is this girl, supposed girl, I think she started asking, she photo bhej. I sent photo and this person was just sitting and I could sense that laughter. And then I just saw behind and then it just kind of flashed. I think that is what happened.
Come on, Ashish, reveal the
he
name.
was like, he
Reveal the
couldn't
name because
suppress.
I will give this guy.
but
No,
think
no,
about
I
it.
think
Think
no,
about
no.
it. For everyone who's hearing this, कि photo भेज. Back in 98, 99, photo लेना, it wasn't कि मोबाइल फोन लिया ऐसे सेल्फी
Yeah,
ले लिया
yeah,
और
yeah, yeah,
भेज
yeah,
दिया.
yeah, yeah.
फोटो
Yeah.
भेजना भी एक प्रोसेस था कि आपको
Yes,
फोटो
yes.
लेना है और
Yes, yes.
फोटो
उसको
तो
स्कैन
निकलेगा. द
करना है.
बेस्ट केस वाज पोलरॉइड, बट
Yes.
वरना रील डेवलप कराना पड़ेगा अगर आपको करंट फोटो लेना है.
So I think
Right?
Ashish gets the award for the first catfish in our batch.
I don't know. I'm sure there will be more.
No, but the first one.
catfish.
I've been catfished. I've been catfished later, but I'm the first guy to be catfished in our batch.
No, I think I know few people who have been catfished. Yeah, I'm sure Manish Mix would know. Right? What is catfish? Is basically what ghosting.
No, no,
right?
catfish.
Falling to this
No,
ghost. What is
catfish is
catfishing?
like a guy telling you that I'm a girl and then making you.
And doing all the
yeah, I
chats. Now,
think,
even if it's not meeting, even if you're having all the chats, you're thinking कि
Uh,
क्या चल रहा है. But isn't that, as long as it doesn't have some bad outcomes like life and death or uh, people taking money and stuff like that, I think it's a win-win situation, isn't it? कि एक को मजा आ रहा है कि वो मस्ती में कर रहा है और दूसरे को मजा आ रहा है क्योंकि उसको अपने ही
उसको प्यार हो रहा है. He's falling in love.
the world is better. It's a happier place with
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
You're doing the
if that
social
guy,
service
yeah, yeah.
actually.
whoever you're naming, Ashish, if he had not giggled, तो वो भी मजे ले रहा था, तू भी मजे ले रहा था, सेम कंप्यूटर रूम में बैठ के.
So Mix, you were there also, so you're part of the giggling that
I don't
happened. And
I don't remember the giggling. Maybe it was the same guy that I am not naming, or maybe it was someone else.
No, and again, so I don't know why I had this, but a lot of people thought I was roving guy.
Roving Eye.
Now
Who
I don't
was
know if you
Roving Eye?
guys, I,
yeah,
I don't know who was
everybody
roving
at the
guy,
age
but
of
a lot of
21
people
or
thought,
21 to 24, which boy is not a roving eye boy?
No, Roving Eye. So,
no, no, I am
Mix,
not
I
talking.
think you've completely forgotten. Chao, तेरे को याद है Roving Eye? So,
Roving eye.
Roving Eye, back in the 98, 99 days, when we didn't have internet, we didn't have Facebook. Basically, it was, as now I think about it, it was the original Facebook without the pictures. It was
Was the
Oh,
gossip.
tabloid.
It was
Tabloid.
gossip. It was a tabloid, and someone used to type it out and take a one-page printout and stick it on the mess door.
oh, I don't remember that.
Right,
No.
इसके साथ है, and a lot of it
अच्छा.
was fake, and a lot of it was real, which was made to be
Oh,
fake.
so do we know who was the guy doing this?
I don't know, but I think we need to find out. And
I,
I
I have heard,
since
I
Okay,
I
so
have heard
what's
who
what's,
is
what's
the
the rumor
person.
you
I
have heard,
think
Ashish? Ashish, what's the
Ashish,
rumor you have
over
heard?
2 years, I am keen to believe him when he says, although I disbelieve anyone who says that because कोई खुद आके थोड़ी ना बोलेगा कि मैं था.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I have heard
So
Manish
I
Miglani
choosing to
also.
believe.
So I
मैं
don't
तो
know.
यार I
No,
was
no,
familiar
no.
with other things, right? Like you were saying.
Okay. So I think the only two interesting parts of the conversation that I want to go back and hear is about the ASL and this roving guy. So let's spend 5 minutes on this roving guy. So what's the best estimate? What's the first best guess?
पता नहीं.
No, a lot of people, I'm telling
No,
you,
you
thought
too
that
chill
I
to
was
be
a
the
roving
roving
guy.
guy.
I don't know
You're too
Are
why.
you
It's
roving
relaxed.
guy?
that
Okay, अभी सीधा बोल
I,
दे. Are you roving guy?
I am not. I am not. I am not. So
Okay.
it was a good piece of
Okay.
work, to be
So
honest.
you're
I mean, I was
not,
not so
I'm not.
creative.
Vix,
It
I
was,
doubt whether he was. He was
No,
busier in
no.
He
other things.
doesn't
he didn't
even
even
I
remember.
didn't
remember.
even
He
know
doesn't
what the
even
roving
remember.
guy was. I was
Exactly. उसको ये भी
literally,
नहीं पता. But
I
sometimes
was trying to.
that is the best fake. कि
No, but it wasn't me.
yeah. और यहाँ पे Chow is like giggling away like anything. He is like इन सबको पता ही नहीं है कि मैं था.
So
Not
who
me.
was the roving guy? What's your best estimate, Ashish?
I really
See,
have
I
no
was
clue.
I was
I
actually
have.
responsible for the computer security at IIM, me along with four other guys in our batch, right? So I have a clue on who this person was who was coming late at night making some posters, printing copies of it. So I didn't know what was getting printed, but now I have a clue, and it was actually a
तो
female.
बताओ.
It was a female, actually.
Okay.
Kabir ji.
But what's your
Yes.
guess?
Oh,
What's
this is
what's
some.
your
No,
take on it? Arey, you were asking everyone. Now you have to say also.
okay,
Now you know.
based
You're
on the
saying you
data I
know.
have from my computer management
Yeah.
role at IIM Bangalore,
It could be incorrect because you didn't see what they were printing.
yeah, I didn't see what they were printing, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they
there
were
was something like yeah, we were like it was discussed that yeah, this person comes prints at 2 a.m. in the morning. What's happening?
It's in fact an interesting confession
Yeah.
to be put on the chat. The roving guy, please raise his hand,
So
his or her hands.
so
If he is on the chat, it's interesting if the person can raise
so
their hands.
yeah, no, it was
It was a
yeah
good piece of work. Honestly, it was very
and
creative, I
even
thought.
with IIM, it was pretty stressful, right? Like graduating IIMs with a B grade on
Yeah.
an average was not an easy thing.
I would be
Yeah.
proud if I was
So
roving guy, to be
I
honest.
think it might have been Divyani.
Is
That's
it?
the best data I have.
Okay, so that to me was probably out of 180 people, if I were to guess 150 people, she would be in the last
Least
30.
probable.
But
Okay.
that's how the best mysteries are.
Yes, that's how the best mysteries are. So what's your best guess mix?
I don't have a guess यार मैंने 25 साल लगा दिए last 25 years. That's the beauty of roving eye, right?
Oh my God.
Let me
No,
count
yeah.
the positives. Firstly, it
Yes.
gave us good gossip. And this was
Yes.
back in the day. We didn't have Facebook, Twitter. कहाँ पे gossip करोगे यार वो कोई एक print out लगा हुआ है.
मैं
And
अभी I'm
I was
posting on
featured
a
on it a few times because of for some reasons that Gokhale mentioned and for some other reasons that I don't even know why I was insinuated. But उसमें थोड़ा सा था मतलब so I don't know whether I was proud to be featured, but जो भी था as I look
Huh.
back, everyone somehow was covered. I think most people were covered in some way. So एक वो egalitarian roving eye है,
Hmm.
and who got humor into it, who got masala entertainment with the gossip going, and it was such a good thing कि उसकी placement was right outside the mess or on the board and कोई चुपचाप. Now think about it कि एकदम सुमनी में आपको प्रिंट आउट करना है, ऑपरेशनल कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी देखो कि किसी को पता ना चले, और फिर लगाना भी है मेस में जो सबसे मोस्ट फ्रीक्वेंटेड एरिया, एंड अब 2 साल लगा रहे हो और 2 साल में आप पकड़े नहीं गए हो, सोचो.
Yes,
I mean,
yes. No,
that
this
level
was
of operational complexity I bow down to.
Marketing,
सब कुछ था, सब
operations,
कुछ, it has
brand,
everything.
positioning,
yes,
मतलब
सब कुछ
yes,
lessons you are
the Twitter
imbibing
and
in that.
Facebook generation will never know that level of
yes. No, no, no. And
roving eye
so,
gossip.
so I do not remember the word roving eye, but I actually remember reading those posters, and this was
Actually,
high
second
quality
year
work.
में there was a competitor. I forget the name क्योंकि roving eye का brand बन गया था. But एक
Okay,
और किसी ने शुरू किया था. I think there were two at that time.
okay.
The
So,
second one I don't know. Second
so
one I
what was
don't
the
know.
most
Second
some
one,
of
I
the
don't.
spiciest stories on roving eye?
No.
Yeah, कुछ तो सही हो गई हैं. It was about who's going
Yeah, I
around with
don't
whom, and
remember.
then finally they got
Hmm.
married. So now it is such a given thing कि
Hmm.
अब उनकी 3 साल बाद शादी हो गई. But
Yeah,
उस
and
टाइम
I
पे वो
think
gossip
some.
था,
It was
right?
also,
Yes.
So that was a
How many
spicy
people in our
story.
batch got married with each
and I
other?
think it was also response.
I know of two couples from our batch, Divyani and Hari, and Kukreja and
I think there are more. There are more.
Acha,
No, there are
Monica
many.
and
Yeah.
Gera are there in Bangalore.
They,
Lizzie Dennis, Monica
Lizzie,
Guerra. Yes.
Dennis,
So the four couples we can count right now, right?
yeah. या तो
Ah,
नहीं नहीं. I think
180 में
I
से
think
8
I
हो गए यार
think
अभी. लड़कियां ही
the
30
other
थी.
day we were counting. Other day as in कुछ साल
जो
पहले.
इंटर बैच भी
I
है
think कुछ 7-8 है.
राम
7-8
एंड
couples, which is like about
huh.
15 odd people. And think about it. आपके
No, but
180
I think
बैच में से नहीं आप गिनोगे. आप टोटल गर्ल्स में गिनोगे, because at that time मतलब we didn't have, maybe there are some other मतलब same sex couples, मुझे नहीं पता.
Yeah.
But मतलब finally आपका limit is to 30 couples अगर 30 लड़कियां हैं, right?
Huh.
So that was the other thing about competition with
no, but this
150
roving guy,
men or boys.
no, this roving guy also killed a lot of romances because I know few romances which are killed because at a very
Yeah.
nascent
It's
stage
your
you
Los
get
Angeles
prominence
की
and
जो
then you
gossip
suppress.
magazines हैं यार,
So
आजकल
that
भी
also
चल रही
happened.
हैं.
So
रोविंग आई ने हमें 98 99
yeah,
में दिखा दिया था कि यार क्या होता है. So many Hollywood romances are killed because of ये all these
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think those parts are the best parts of our life. I think the
yeah,
ASL chats, the roving eye, the dosa of Dason. I think those are the memories I have. The rest of it, I don't remember anything about management accounting. I don't remember anything about 99% of things.
yeah, but that
Yes.
is life. No, you remember the experiences, not the actual. It's like akin to the
Yes.
asset versus the experiences
Yes.
out of those assets. So it's the same thing, right? When you visit a place, you don't remember visiting the place which you visited. You maybe remember the waiter you met or something weird he did or she did or something, some these things, right? So it's all about these days. In fact, there's a lot like the young millennials are going more for
Yeah.
experiences and not products or not features. So
So
it's all about
experience
the same thing,
reminds
right?
me of one thing, Ashish. You were probably the first person in our batch, uh, because it was at a very young age. You went for a Vipassana course back in like when you were 22 years old, a 10-day Vipassana course, and we
Yeah,
were
I
all
was actually no, I
making,
wasn't
I
20.
don't know, maybe fun of you, or how did you feel about that?
No, actually, it was very interesting because I don't know if you remember, I was
Okay.
so I had broken up that time. So I had a
Arey,
breakup
you
that
don't
time.
talk to
So in
girls and
fact, I
then
was
how,
about to get
how did you
married,
have a
Uh,
breakup?
what
and
is this?
no, I was about to get no. So no, it's fine. I mean, you can. I mean, no, in fact, it was arranged marriage. Yeah, it was not even.
And you
So
didn't
it was
talk
not.
to
It
her,
was
तो उसने
arranged
बोला
marriage,
कि नहीं मम्मी मुझको नहीं,
and
मैं बात
I
नहीं
broke up
करती.
before the wedding. No, so
ये
whatever.
मम्मी
Right? So
मुझे ये लड़का मेरे से बात नहीं करता
so
है.
so in fact. So Vipassana was basically just So I was scheduled to get married. I had my leave blocked, And so then this thing suddenly happened. I had nothing to do during that leave, and in banking your leave is sacrosanct, 10 days mandatory leave. So करना क्या है? So then somebody just suggested कि यार मैंने अभी यहाँ जाके आया हूँ तो जा.
कि तूने शादी की
तो
छुट्टी ली थी और वो
exactly,
शादी नहीं हो रही है तो चल विपश्यना चले जाते. That
exactly,
is the best alternative to शादी that I heard.
exactly. I had nothing else to
Yeah.
do, and it was नहीं ऐसे भी नहीं था कि उसकी डिप्रेशन में मैं गया, और ऐसे भी कुछ नहीं था. जस्ट आउट ऑफ नथिंग, बिकॉज और क्या करे वहाँ जाए. तो या इट वॉज वेरी, सो अगेन आई वेंट इन टू इट. आई डेंट नो मच. मुझे सब ये पता था कि 10 दिन कुछ बात नहीं करनी. फॉर मी दैट वॉज अ थिंग, बट इट इज़ वेरी इट वॉज वेरी डिफिकल्ट. सो इट इज़ नॉट ओनली अबाउट नॉट टॉकिंग, यू डोंट कम्युनिकेट फॉर 10 days एट ऑल. सो देर इज नो, आई कैंट इवन लुक आई टू आई कैंट से हाई, आई कैंट एक्नॉलेज योर प्रेजेंस. सो 10 दिन यू आर completely within yourself, and that is just the starting. So you're supposed to sit and go through that meditation process for 10 days, about 14 hours a day, sleep just for 4 or 5 hours, eat only twice a day. So it was pretty, and I remember tabhi, in fact, there was that India Australia test series going on. I think that David, in the series in which Dravid, Lakshman, and so I think
Got
when
it.
I came into
In
Vipassana,
Calcutta, Eden Gardens. Is that
yeah,
right?
it was not that, it was not the Eden Gardens match, but the other match in that series.
Okay.
And I remember distinctly the first thing when I came out, I wanted to know test match ka hua kya. You know, because you have no idea. You know, you're sitting there because no newspapers, you have no access to anything. Mobile phone तो तभी थे ही नहीं. So it was so हो क्या रहा है बाहर दुनिया में. You could walk, you could see the world, because it was like located on a hill. You could see the world,
Which one
but
did
you
you
have
go
no
to?
idea.
Igatpuri.
I went to Igatpuri,
Okay.
which is the
Isn't
main
that the
center.
main
So
center?
that is the main center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I went
So
when much later in life, like in my early mid 40s, about 6 years ago, for the first time. Uh, I am glad to say that I've been going pretty much, save the pandemic period, pretty much once a year since then. But जब मैं पहली बार गया था तो मेरे को याद आया कि यार एक बार वो आशीष ने बताया था और हमको लगा था अरे यार 22 साल का है, ये कहाँ पे विपश्यना, क्या ये सब करने जा रहा है. एंड यू नो इट वाज जस्ट व्हाटएवर यूथ स्पीकिंग. कि हमने काफी मजाक उड़ाया था, मुझे याद है, मतलब. एंड मे बी इट वेंट ऑफ लाइक वाटर ऑन अ डक्स बैक.
that's an interesting term. Okay,
या
क्या मतलब है इसका, वाटर ऑन अ डक्स बैक?
मतलब तेरे को फर्क ही नहीं पड़ा कि हमने तेरा मजाक उड़ाया था, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ
नहीं नहीं,
थिंग.
so
बिकॉज वी
because
वर ऑल
actually
22 years old एंड ये 10 दिन का विपश्यना कोर्स करने जा रहे हैं, हमें लगा. सो वी डिडंट नो कि यार वो एट दैट टाइम वी डिडंट नो कि वो शादी एंड ऑल दैट, यू हैड दैट रीजन टू गो. बट हमको लगा कि यार ये क्या करने जा रहे हैं, मतलब अभी तो खेलने कूदने के दिन है यार. मतलब ये सब लोग करते हैं जब आप रिटायर हो जाते हो, दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स. That's a perception, right? Uh, of course, life is stranger. So like I said, I've been going. I know it is a pretty strong lifestyle. You wake up at 4:30 every day. You sleep at 9:30 every day, and between 4:30 and 9:30, probably for 80 or 90% of the time, you're meditating or sitting or doing something. And I think it's so. I've never been to in India. Maybe at one point, one of the courses I want to do even in India. Is it different from the two centers that I've been to in the
I
UK?
think it would be the same, because I've done a small course here in UAE also. So I
Uh,
think it's the basic is the same. Your
uh,
routine is the same. And so again, water over the duck's back, you said it was that way because honestly, unlike you, I didn't do anything after that. I just came out, and I remember I came out and next day I was sitting and having beer. My
वो
mother told
ठीक
me
है,
ये
वो
क्या
तो
है
सबका
विपश्यना
चलता है
से
यार.
आके.
मतलब I'm not claiming के, which reminds me, I was supposed to get the beer, which I
Yeah,
was chilling in the fridge just to. You still have your beer?
I am done.
तेरा
I am
क्या
done.
एक ही ग्लास हो गया?
ये क्यों अभी I didn't get a you guys didn't give me the conversation was so engrossing. I didn't
Conversation.
get a chance
Yeah,
to
we
get
we
a.
we, we did our yeah, nature breaks and all that between that, and I even opened the door. My son has come back after after a week of his first international skiing trip that he went with the school. So मैं उसके लिए दरवाजा वो सब भी खोल रहा है. अभी उससे बात हुई है मैंने. So I just went there, just said hello, and then came back and joined this.
Yes, because in this last 3 hours, I have seen the light transition from sunlight to
So
dark
ये
mode. I can the behind.
I'll tell you if this were like one or 2 weeks ago, because it was raining and so cloudy, even at the start it would have been reasonably dark.
Murky.
right? So at
No,
some
so for me
point,
this
I've
is
been
actually the
switching on
perfect time.
different lights.
Post. No, so for me this is the perfect time. Post dinner, it's not too late,
Yeah.
not too early. I think for you guys it's too early. For Manish it's too late. For Kedia, so maybe it's
For
very very
KDI, it
early.
is we have to wake him up for the episodes. For Chow, it is very late. तेरे लिए सही है. मेरे लिए sometimes, I mean, actually, it's the best time because it's like right in the middle. ना सोने का होता है either side, but then sometimes it's like you have things to do with your life in the afternoon, right in the center of the day. So we are figuring out कि हमारा क्या है. What we can't do and we'd love to do is like a an episode where everyone has their beer or some drink, like an after hours kind of episode, but सबके किसी का morning है, किसी का afternoon है, किसी का evening है, so we can't do that. Let me get the beer very quickly. चाहो तू अपना शुरू कर. We'll yeah, I'll get the pictures out also.